continuations and the hearings, scheduled hearings at 6:30. So, did everybody get a chance to review the minutes of June 5th?
These,
Yes, Ree?
That was the
June 5th
executive
is already
session.
approved. These are executive session, sorry, June 5th, June 19th, and May 22nd isn't on there, they're executive.
Did you get all the changes that I?
So so it's just the first executive session, or all of them?
It's June 5th, June 19th, and May 22nd executive sessions.
Quick question, are they ready to be released, or?
I don't think so, you're still, well, you guys make that determination, because they're all PF Falmouth LLC.
Yeah. So I move that we approve the executive session minutes of May 22nd, June 5th, and June 19th, and to release them to the public.
Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
And just a quick
So I
comment,
just sign
because I
these?
know a number of board members have not been through it before. When you do approve executive session minutes, periodically you need to review them to make sure if the matter has been resolved, that you release them
Go
for
ahead.
public view. I think
So it's
everything else that we have
good
is
timing
still turbine related, so.
And Gallagher. Turbine and Gallagher, which you voted. One was 2012, one was 2013.
Which one is that?
Gallagher.
Oh,
Still
yes.
in.
Also, Falmouth Auto,
Yes.
and, yeah, so there's a number of them that are still out there that we have to. But anyway, just a quick comment on that to remember that.
Thank you. Future agenda items, that's kind of like regular thing that pops up if anybody has anything.
Keep in mind, we don't have another hearing till September 4th.
Thank you, Siri. We're gonna wait on Westwind to the end of the night. The procedural rules revision, board review and approval.
We've got an email that asked us to put it off again because Pat Harris hasn't had a chance to weigh in. But I think Frank just commented on this.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
So that's on
We'll
to
just put it off till
September.
September.
whatever that is.
Hopefully we won't have any reconsideration.
Okay, general code update from the committee, the zoning bylaw review. Patty, you wanna?
There's nothing happened since last Thursday unless Sri has something to report.
Brian sent you an email.
Get one?
I didn't receive anything.
I didn't receive anything.
Brian sent an email to me and CC'd you stating that members cannot attend his meeting, and the meeting hasn't been confirmed yet.
So there's no
That it's
date.
for the staff to review, and that then we'll have a joint board meeting between the planning board and the zoning board.
In the future.
He said that in his email?
Yes.
I didn't get the email. That's okay. That's what I wanted to hear. No
I
members.
didn't do anything with the email because you're the chair, and he had sent it to you, so.
Who knows where it went, but anyway. Maybe you could do me a favor and send me that email again, direct.
Okay.
You know, because whatever he sent me, whenever he sent it to me, I didn't get.
It was right after I requested that, because I requested it the next day.
Yeah,
And
Friday
I think it
morning,
was
I
in
saw
that-
that.
That afternoon, I believe,
Yes.
it was that afternoon, or Monday morning, I can't remember which, but right after.
I
All the
read-
more reason we need to get a joint meeting with the planning board together.
Exactly. And
Great.
on that note, I did speak with Pat Kerfoot, who everyone well knows that is the chairperson for the planning board. And I'm gonna get together with her, I don't know, first or second week of August, and we're gonna try to do a joint meeting between the two of us. So maybe this will be a top.
The two boards.
The two boards,
Okay.
yep. Get the two boards together, so, oh, and that's great that Brian wants to do that also, so that works out rather nicely.
I don't know how, I don't know when they're gonna have the staff meeting like they had planned. It wasn't today. And he said it wasn't going to be today. He told me that last night.
Well, that's good. So that's good, and I'll keep you informed on
Good.
what Pat and I talk about, and when we can get together. Obviously, that'll get coordinated through Sari and Brian. All right, any correspondence or board comment? No? Perfect. At this time, I'll adjourn till 6:30. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 24th meeting of the Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is David Haddad. I'm the chairman of the board. Let me introduce the rest of the board to you. To my far right is Matt McNamara, who's a voting member of the board. To Matt's left is Patricia Johnson, who's also a voting member of the board. To my immediate right is Ken Foreman, who's the vice chair of the board. To my left is Kimberly Beelan, who's the clerk of the board. To Kim's left is Mark Cool, who's an associate member of the board. At the far table, Sari Budrose, our zoning administrator. And next to Sari is Drade Guy Shecker, who's our recording secretary. Tonight, we opened at 5. We had a public hearing, continuation from Agansett Crossing. We went into executive session with regards to a comprehensive permit, PF Falmouth LLC off Gifford Street, also Falmouth Housing Trust, and now here we are. Tonight we have 3 continuations, and we have 2 new hearings, and we have 1 item on our open meeting. Some of you may know, but I'll tell you again anyway, the board's goal is to have a full and fair hearing. Oh, excuse me, I wanted to make one more call out to Selectwoman Rebecca Moffett, who's our new liaison, I believe. Thank you, ma'am, for coming. Our board's goal is to have full and fair hearings through reading information in the file, doing site visits, through testimony, and reviewing documents presented. Anyone having an interest in an application will be given the opportunity to speak only to what is before the board. If you are recognized by the chairman, introduce yourself, give your address. All these hearings are recorded and televised. Everyone attending tonight's hearing is asked to show respect and courtesy by silencing cell phones. Please do that at this time. Listen to the applicants, witnesses, and the board, refraining from private conversations, refraining from making derogatory statements, and exiting the hearing room quietly. So our first continuation is Rudy, application 115-13, and I believe that there's a letter in the file from the applicant's representative that they're looking for a continuation to October 16th.
I would move we continue application 115-13 to October 16th at 6:30 p.m.
I second that.
Okay, that was Mr. McNamara and Mr. Cool. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Great, thank you. The next continuation is, well set, is application 40-14, Walled Management. They've also requested a continuation until September 4th. Their representative, Mr. McKenzie. Anybody want to make a motion to?
I'll move that application 40-14 be continued to September 4th, 6:30 p.m. here in Town Hall.
Seconded?
Second.
Second by Ms. Johnson. So that's Mr. Foreman and second by Ms. Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
I won't be here,
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Is not sitting on that hearing.
and I won't be here.
That's me, Ken, Matt, Kim, and Mark. And Mark, you're not going to be here?
Nope.
So Ken, you're going to make the motion.
I did make the motion.
He did.
I mean, you can't,
So I'll make the motion.
and Matt's going to second it. So that was Mr. Foreman and Mr. McNamara. So all those in favor say aye.
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 September 4th. Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. And our next continuation is application 42-14, Ryan Development. We last met on June 19th. We heard some testimony from the applicant and the public. There's since been some information submitted by the applicant. Guess I'll now recognize Mr. Ahmed to review the new information.
Mr. Chairman, I would be delighted to do that. However, I would like to ask if you would table this, perhaps take your next matter out of order, because my client is not here. For all I know, they are driving around in circles looking for a parking space like everybody else. Anyway, I apologize for that. I would like the client to be present, hopefully shortly, and maybe you have something else you could take up in the meantime.
That seems fair
Thank
enough.
Chairman, I would move that we continue this hearing until after we take up application 4514.
Okay, anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. McNamara, Mr. Poole, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, application 4514. Kim, when you get a chance, will you
Yeah.
read that into the record, please?
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Mass General Laws, you are hereby notified that Patrick and Nancy McDonald of Ashland, Mass. applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-3 and 240-69E to construct an addition to the existing single-family dwelling to enlarge living space on a 7,884 square foot residential C zone parcel that lies within Eel Pond Coastal Pond Overlay District, known as 48 Winthrop Drive in Wacoit.
Thank you, Kim. It's Mr. Bunker here. I believe he's the representative for the McDonald's. Tom, where you hiding?
Let's table it.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we continue
Moving right
this
along.
hearing until
Wait for
after we
Tom.
take up and conclude application 5114.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, moving right along here. Application 5114, American Tower Corp. Kim, will you read that into the record
Sure.
when you get a chance?
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of Mass General Laws, you are hereby notified that American Tower Corp. of Woburn, Mass. applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a modification of previous special permits pursuant to Sections 240-38C to install and add 3-panel antennas along with equipment into existing cabinets located at the base of the pre-existing communications tower located on a 2.34-acre agricultural A zone parcel known as 1006 East Falmouth Highway in East Falmouth, Mass.
Thanks, Kim.
Excuse me, Chairman. It is regular voting members, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so my name is Jackie Clifford. I'm here representing American Tower.
Jackie, could you speak into the
Oh,
microphone?
sorry.
Scoot it down towards you. It should.
Oh, there we go. Is that better? My name's Jackie Clifford.
Clifford, thank you.
So I'm here representing American Tower Corporation. So I was unable to have a lawyer or anyone come with me. I know there's some other issues, at this tower, which I'm sure are going to be brought up. But I am here to represent my application, as Kimberly already mentioned. Sprint is proposing to install 3-panel antennas, 3 remote radio heads, 6 jumpers, and 1 hybrid cable at 996 East Falmouth Highway.
Okay, hang on right there. I'll see if there's any referrals in the file.
Okay. Health, no comment. And, is this engineering is the standard. There was also a email from Nick Croft, and it says attaches the ZBA application number 5114 approved by the engineering department. There is a letter from the Falmouth Fire Department. Lieutenant Mel Trott says, "Dear Board, this correspondence concerns application 5114 by the America Tower Company to add antennas and equipment into existing cabinets at 1006 East Falmouth Highway. At this time, the Falmouth Fire Rescue Department has no concerns with this project. Planning has no comment, and building has no comment."
Thank you. Patty, you have any questions for Jackie?
Your application to us just involves the new Sprint, some kind of, whatever you call them,
Yep, antennas.
antennas. And it's on the lowest, is it on the lowest section of the tower? Existing tower?
I believe so. It is, I know it is 30 feet. There's a 30-foot separation from where Sprint is located to Metro PCS. I'm not sure if it's exactly on the lowest rad. I can actually take a look right now.
It looks like on page A2, that it is on the lowest rack.
Okay. Yes, that is correct, the lowest rad.
And you have no application before us for the change in the backup generator, is that correct?
I am not sure about that. I'd have to ask, another representative if there was another application regarding a generator there.
In the files, there is a application, there is some information about the Cape Cod Commission approving a new backup generator. But I guess that's not before us, correct? We're only in the antenna.
You guys have the file. I don't remember exactly. It would show on the plans if they have a backup generator. There are some things that have been previously approved and where I recommend they go back to Cape Cod Commission.
This application has been approved by Cape Cod Commission.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm talking about previously.
Oh, okay.
That there have been other things done that did not go through this board. They are proposing to add additional antennas instead of taking out stuff and putting it back in. And I
Right.
don't see where they're
Well,
proposing.
the scope of the project is on T1, where it says project description, and there's no generator.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
It's
don't
just
see
in the
anything on these
files that I
plans.
just wanted to make sure
There's
that we
other
didn't have to
files,
do
yeah.
anything about it. Okay, that's the only question I have on the.
Thank you, Patty. Ken?
Can you review the policies with respect to wildlife and, in particular, if there's nesting and on the tower and so forth? How do you guys deal with that?
Well, American Tower does have, a department specifically for that. So, any issue regarding wildlife would go to them. I'm just the applicant, so, I submit the application, and, that's really all I do. So, as far as the wildlife goes, that gets deferred to the wildlife department at American Tower.
And do they have a set of policies and procedures, do you know?
They do. I can read you, I have emails.
The policies are in the file.
Yeah, any policy that they do have, I can't make quotes on it. If I were to tell you anything, it would just be me reading off, their website or, whatever emails they have, so.
Okay. You all set? I'm set for the minute.
Kim, you have any questions for Jackie?
So there's already an existing Sprint antenna there?
Yes.
Is that true? So it's that's already mounted, it's just a matter of adding additional panels to what's already there?
Yep, that's correct. It's all on the same mount.
Okay. And no expansion of the cabinet on the ground level at all?
Nope, so the cabinet work is all inside the existing cabinets. They're not adding cabinets or anything like that. You know, any work that they're doing is just modifications as far as like electrical work, and that sort of thing goes. It's all within the existing cabinets that are there. So nothing as far as the layout goes is changing, you know, on the ground.
Okay. And as far as installation goes, I know we have to finalize our approval if we were to approve it. Do you know when this would be installed relative to nesting? Or would that be something that we'd have to consult the
You know, anything, you know, I know there's nesting and, you know, what have you. So as far as the contracting goes, you know, they'll definitely work around whatever regulations there are with the wildlife or anything of that nature. So, you know, I know a lot of times, I believe in October is when they're allowed to start doing work on the tower. You know, keeping the ospreys and wildlife, you know, in mind. So, you know, any regulations that there, you know, they'll follow.
So if we conditioned an approval that no work would be performed until that time?
Yeah, I feel that that's fair.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Tim. Matt, do you have any questions for Jackie?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Thank you. And I understand you're by yourself,
Yeah.
but in many ways,
And this is my first hearing too, so it's just,
we'll walk you through it. But on the other hand, you are standing in the place of American Tower, so when we ask you
Right.
questions, this is if we're asking American Tower. So a couple of easy ones. Do you know what the status of the plot plan is that we requested? We still don't have one.
the plot plan was submitted with the application. The plot plans are in the drawings.
No, there was a circle that was imposed on what was somewhat of a, Google Earth type of topography, but there was no plot plan.
Okay.
And I think our administrator did communicate directly with the engineering firm for your company. So the plot plan is something. The other is, how many carriers are currently coexisting on this tower?
I do know Metro PCS is there. As far as other carriers go, I'm not 100% sure. You know, that's definitely information I can find out from our contractor as well as our engineer, and get all that information back to you.
Okay. So, and I think there's no new height going up on the tower, it's just adding on what's there.
Right.
So I think, you know, to have the information on the number of carriers and the plot plan are important details that need to be in the file. But coming back to, you're representing American Tower. American Tower is responsible for the tower itself, and they allow certain carriers that have to be approved by us to add their equipment to the tower.
Right.
So when there is a problem at the tower, who's responsible? Is it American Tower? Is it Metro PCS? Is it Sprint?
It's American Tower.
Okay, it's American Tower, thank you. So then to follow up on some of the questions you just had, and I know that you probably got this late in this application process, but
Yeah.
as you know, back on May 7th, we alerted folks at American Tower that there was an osprey kill. There was a destruction of a nest, there was a bird, and you know, hatchlings that were also killed. Since May 7th, we've not had a response. So do you have any new information to share with us?
The only new information I have is, you know, they want me to collect any concerns or any issues the board does have regarding the issue. And, you know, if this does get continued, someone will definitely be here with me this time, to answer those types of questions. Like I said, I'm here only to represent the application that I submitted, and I have complete sympathy as far as, those issues do go. However, I can take any comments, any concerns that the board has, regarding those issues, take them back to American Tower, and, if the application does get continued, then I will have a representative here that, can answer those types of questions.
Okay. And so I'll ask a couple more, and it may
Yep.
be out of your
Yeah.
scope. But have you, or has anyone else that you've been talking to been in touch with our Deputy Director of Environmental and Marine Services? It used to be our Division of Natural Resources, because they were going to be doing, I think you might have got some of the emails from our administrator.
Yes.
That there was to have been an investigation
Yes.
by the town. We've asked but never received that investigation. Have you by any chance?
No, we have not. I know that they haven't heard from them, which is why there was nothing cleared from the site, because they knew that the town was doing their own investigation, which is why they didn't go to the tower and clear anything, away from the tower, because they didn't want to impair whatever investigation that they were doing there.
And I know you probably don't, but isn't the Bird Watchers Group something that's part of the policy that American Tower has? So
They do have, yes, they do
right,
have a
so
department.
they had been out there, at least we
Right.
knew that. So
Yep, yep.
to some degree, American Tower was out there, but
Yep.
we seem to be in this vacuum of information, and obviously,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, there's a bit of a concern. So the other question, and I probably know the answer to it, but it'll be beneficial for when we discuss it. Can you speak for American Tower in terms of how the bird site program or policy could be improved to work for a town like this?
Right, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I don't know all that much about their, bird policy department, or their wildlife department. So that's really not something, I'm educated in commenting on, just because I feel
That's fine.
like I would need to know much more than just this one situation to give a good comment regarding
And
it.
then the final question, again, probably know the answer to it already, is that if Sprint were involved in putting up their panels for the antennas, if this board were to approve it, and they were involved in nesting birds or a kill, who is then responsible? American Tower still?
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely still go to American Tower, and then American Tower would be the ones, if God forbid there was a contractor who did something, or, something of that nature, then, then they would get in touch with them. But, definitely the main point of contact is definitely American Tower.
Great. Thank you
Yep.
very much, Jackie.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Mark, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
My questions are about your application. You're gonna put 3 new panels in.
Right, that's correct.
Are you gonna remove any?
Nope, there's not gonna be anything removed.
Nothing's removed.
No.
So, of the panels that are, I was trying to look at some of the small print in the actual application. And since you submitted the application, I'll just go right to you. Will any of the apparatus that are being put up protrude beyond what's there now?
Protrude, so you mean where the mounts are? Will the antennas go?
Further than what exists now?
No, nope.
No.
So,
Do you have a, I didn't see it scaled on the map or on the A1, or A2 is the page I'm looking at. There's no scale as to the dimensional width, and I was wondering if that, from the pole to the outermost, is that less than 20 feet? Do you know that?
Okay, let me get to A1 right here. So you're asking if the mount is any further than 20 feet?
20 feet from the monopole.
Okay, let me see here.
And the reason I ask that is, just looking at the FCC's definition of substantial change when you modify, or actually they say a co-location of new transmission equipment.
Okay. You know, I'm not 100% positive on that, so I really don't want to say yes or no. So that is something that I can ask, you know, the engineer about. So you want to make sure that the rad and the monopole aren't going out any further than, you know, where they are right now.
From the monopole
Yep.
out.
Yep,
You know, the FCC says a substantial change would be if you penetrate beyond 20 feet from the monopole.
right. I don't believe so, but like I said, I don't want to say, you know, that it's not going to, because I'm not 100% sure on that. That's something, you know, our engineer would be more educated on answering than I would.
Okay.
So, you know, let me ask him about that.
All right.
It says no scale.
And in the file, this is considered by Sprint just a routine upgrade or modification?
Yes.
So we could probably expect this from other carriers on that same pole, possibly?
I guess most likely, I don't know.
Do you know if there's any microwave dishes on your array?
No, there's no microwave dishes there.
Let's see.
At least not on that monopole, so.
Not on that monopole or on that bank that you're representing?
On what I'm representing, the monopole that they're adding antennas on.
Okay.
And I don't see, as far as the images go, I don't see microwaves on that tower, but
That's what I was looking for. the picture.
yeah, I don't believe there are any microwaves on that tower.
That's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Mark. Jackie, I think the board pretty much asked the questions that I was concerned with, but I want to get back to when the work will be done. Obviously, it won't be done during osprey nesting, that type
Right.
of thing, but you're not sure about that policy anyway, so you don't really have a date on
Well,
when
no,
you'll-
I mean, I can definitely confirm that, you know, no work will be done during that season. You know, that I can promise you guys. You know, especially where it's a sensitive subject to begin with, you know, I feel as though they'll definitely be concerned regarding, you know, when the work's gonna be done. So those types of issues, they'll work around.
But you don't know those dates, though, you gotta go back and get that policy,
Right, I can't say the exact dates, especially whereas we don't even have an approval, so.
Okay, I got a little list compiled for your homework, so I'll
Okay.
end my questions there, but Sue, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just want a clarification. The emails that I had with the bird watchers affiliation with American Towers, to my knowledge, they did not go to the site. They relied upon the pictures that one of our board members sent to me that I sent to them. And their answer was, the carcass was, 3 weeks old, I believe is what they said. Which, you know, we have witnesses that say that the bird was there 2 days previous. So I don't believe they actually went to the site. Is there any way you could confirm that?
Let me
Because that would be
see.
important for any policies going.
It says here that the field operations tech for this particular site did go the same day that it was documented. And he called Birdwatch and they provided photos as well.
Could we get those photos then? Because we weren't sent anything except an email that stated, according to the photos, which I assumed were my photos that I sent them,
Okay.
And did they acknowledge anything further, that it was a mother and a baby? And the condition of the nest room? Anything else from them?
I mean, I do have emails here of them saying, you know, the only concern that I have is it's hard for me, you know, to get in between, you know, it's like what he said and what she said, so for me to just read.
That's why I sent you all the documented emails that I had.
Right.
And I know that, you know, I just recently gave you a heads up on this, so.
Right.
I'm just asking if those things could be answered. at the
Yes,
next
I
hearing.
mean, yes, definitely. You know, like I said, I'll have someone here with me next time that, you know, hopefully is, you know, at least from the department, or a lawyer, you know, that can answer these types of questions. You know, it's just hard for me, you know, I have complete sympathy for the situation. You know, it's just hard for me to say, you know, what the emails
No, we
read.
understand.
Yeah.
We understand completely. That's why I sent them to you, because you were unaware. And on the fact that you're here on behalf of American Tower, we thought you should have them and could possibly address some of them.
Right, definitely.
So we appreciate it, thank you.
Anybody have any additional questions for Jackie? All right, I'll turn to the public. Does anybody want to speak in opposition of this application? Anybody want to speak in favor of this application? Okay, so Jackie, I think you heard the board, some of the things that their concerns, no particular order. I heard, I think it was Patty, backup generator approval. I don't know where,
We don't need, I
You all
just
set with
wanted to
that?
make sure that was
in the file.
not part of this application.
Okay. Obviously, you heard about the wildlife, so your policy with regards to the wildlife,
No,
bird site improvements, your responsibility for these who's responsible? You said American Tower, but I'm sure this will all be in your policy. Sri just said, you were speaking of the bird kill, you have some additional photos and some documentation on who actually went out, if you could provide that.
Okay.
You know, including the investigation from our Department of Natural Resource. I think you made mention that somebody contacted American Tower. Is that correct?
Yep.
Other
We
carriers.
need those dimensions from the monopole, how far out, because this plan's not to scale.
The number of carriers in the plot plan.
Oh, yeah, the plot
Those
plan.
two things.
And the carriers, you said Metro
No.
PCS, but
Regarding the plot plan, I just want to see, I believe the plot plan was on page C1. The plot plan.
that's the Google one that Mr. McNamara was referring to?
Which one did you say, Jackie, you want?
C1 on the drawings.
I have E.
T is the, E and T.
Anybody have C?
No Cs in here.
I have C.
No C.
No C.
SPs.
So that'd be something that you
A.
could
Okay.
see to
Can
us.
you hold it up and show it to us?
Yeah, of course. It's, you know, I'll get a colored one too for next time, because this is, now that I'm looking at it.
That's a topo, honey, that's not a plot plan. That is a topography view.
Worth it.
It's not an
Okay.
actual engineered site plan showing the exact location of the tower, its setbacks, and the dimensions of the fall zone. That is what he sent us. That is like a Google Earth topography. It's not an engineered.
And it exists because it had to have been submitted to the Cape Cod Commission. It
Right.
had to have been submitted
Yeah, it
initially,
exists.
The original application.
right,
Right.
for this monopole.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It would
see, I
show
thought,
the dimensions of the fall zone.
Right.
And, you know, the closest, we've got the Falmouth Air Park there. You're probably aware that there's litigation involving this monopole. So it needs to be really clear that there are no changes.
okay,
Is there, did I leave out anything?
okay, I apologize
think so.
about that. I thought that was the that plan, so,
Just-
sorry.
Just a clarification. We have at least the policy from American Tower that goes back to 2010. So if there's anything new, that would be valuable. But I think it's more than that. I think what I was looking for is how could this be improved so we don't fall into this situation? For
Right.
example, should there be a $10,000 bond per carrier to allow the town to do its own investigation, to hire somebody in to restore a nest that's destroyed or whatever? Something, because obviously this policy didn't work based on what we experienced in May of this year.
Right.
This is the second time. In 2011, a nest was removed by a carrier. There was no bird deaths.
Right, you had mentioned that, I saw that in the emails.
Just a copy of this wouldn't suffice as far as I'm
Yep.
concerned. So
Right,
somebody to really be able to address how.
Bird site improvements.
Okay.
right,
Responsibility for
definitely.
And the purpose
Yeah.
would be ultimately to incorporate some of these as conditions in
Absolutely.
the decision.
Right.
That's why we want it explicitly.
Right, no, I totally agree.
And you did come and you were forthright saying you fully understood you'd probably be back again, so.
Yeah, I was coming in knowing I wasn't gonna get approved, honestly, so.
And you can continue to work with Sari and contact her with regards to
And
info we're looking for.
I think you may have Chuck Martinson's email information, phone numbers, et cetera. If not, I'm sure Sari could give them to you. Again, he's our
Okay.
deputy
Yeah,
director of
that name
environmental
definitely
and marine
rings a bell.
services.
So Sari, September 11th? Is that gonna work for you, Jackie? September 11th?
Definitely, yeah.
Is there a time constraint
6:30?
because this is a cell tower issue?
Do you want a motion?
I'm sorry, there was,
Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I believe because it's a cell tower issue, I think there's a abnormal or a shortened time frame, but I'm not quite sure
From whose aspect, I'm sorry.
from the application date.
No, it's our application date, and Jeff, did you look on the front, see when the 90 days is up?
90 days is up October 22nd.
All right, so we have time, I don't need another waiver.
it's just a straightforward
Okay.
special permit.
So, Patty, was that
I
you
think
there?
looking at FCC or.
Yeah.
That's
FCC.
their
Just
Yeah,
responsibility, not
if they
ours.
need to get an extension from the FCC, they do.
Okay.
I'll make a
So-
motion that we continue this hearing till September 11th.
Second.
Just quickly, Jackie had a question before we do this.
So the Cape Cod Commission approval, that's something that I will have to contact them about? Is that what you said, or?
No, it's in the file.
Oh, okay, okay,
It's there.
sorry.
We can iron all that out with Sari when you
Okay.
contact Sari.
Is that going
Okay.
to be at 6:30? Is that
Yeah,
part of the
6:30.
motion?
Okay, so that was Ms. Johnson, Mr. Foreman, seconded by Mr. Foreman, September 11th, continuation at 6:30. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. Thank you, Jackie. I'll
Thank
see
you,
then.
guys.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Nice job, by the way.
Just so you.
Very
So did I
good.
see, maybe we can get Tom out of here, or try to.
Is he
The
here?
way we continued them.
I think
Or do you wanna?
Bob might be
Well,
here.
the way the
Go, Ryan.
motion was,
Yeah.
Is Tom Bunker here?
so it goes
I
back
don't think Tom's
to.
here.
Bob, is your,
Oh, he is here. Tom
Client.
Bunker is
Oh,
here.
yes, sir.
here? If so, you can pick up where you left off.
Actually, my client is not yet here. I'm sorry to report to you.
Tom
If you
Bunker
don't have
is.
other business, I can
We know,
proceed. but
we'd love to hear from Mr. Bunker.
Thank
So,
you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we continue application 4214 until after we take up and conclude application 4514 for Patrick and Nancy McDonald.
Okay, and I think we already read that into the,
There's
No,
second.
we did.
yep, we read that into the record already.
Second.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
And,
So who seconded?
I'll second it.
Matt's motion that we're gonna pick up Ryan after we dispense of McDonald. So that was seconded by Ms. Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, Tom.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the record. My name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We prepared this plan for the McDonald's on 48 Wentworth Drive and Seacoast Shores in East Falmouth. And we have plans from SPB Design for the architecture also. This is an application for adding habitable space to a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a lot which is under 30,000 square feet. We have 7,884 square feet. Currently, the house covers 17.9% of the property. The nonconformity is on the east side of the property. The right-hand side is only 8.5 feet from the side lot line, 1.5 feet too close to the property line. The requirement would be 10 feet otherwise. It conforms in its location to the rear property line, the left property line, and the street line, being 28.5 feet back from the street to the front step. What they're proposing to do is take off the deck that is in the back here and add an addition. This is an existing one-story house, and it will remain a one-story house. You see in the photo here, it's a one-story house, so the addition will be here, adding on here where partly where the deck is, and it'll go back up basically to fill in this L up to where the bulkhead is. So the bulkhead will remain in this location, and the addition there. The left view shows the addition at the rear of the building and the new roof line, which should be going toward the back of the lot. So the ridge of the new roof is the same height as the ridge of the existing roof. What you see in the background right here is actually the roof line of this addition, which was put on some time ago. So in the rear elevation, you have this addition, this much on here, and a little gable showing in the back. Addition to a pre-existing non-conforming, and also we're asking for the special permit to increase the lot coverage to above 20%. As you said, the existing is 17.9%, and what we're adding on here will bring the total coverage to 22.13% of the lot. I think it was just yesterday we gave you a breakdown of some of the neighborhood houses. There's a print of the town GIS, so you can see where some of these houses are, and photos of some of what could be considered some of the larger houses, not all of the houses, but there are some 1.5 and 2-story houses in the neighborhood. And I have the breakdown here. One is just by building area. The red line down here is the existing house. Down here we have an area of 1,332 square feet. Well, if I look at it now, it has the wrong number. Anyway, it's down here. As proposed, it'll move from this line up to the blue is the proposed number is 21 point. I think these numbers weren't updated, but it's actually 22%. But I believe the building size is correct. So anyway, it's not the largest structure in the neighborhood as far as footprint. From this one here, under the lot coverage, same type of thing. The existing is down toward the bottom of the first page, and the lot coverage with 17%, and the lot coverage will go up to 21. Although I'm afraid this wasn't updated when we just did the last plan. It's actually 22%. So it would be higher than that. It'd be up the fourth line down instead of the 7th or 8th line down. It'll be a little bit higher than here with 22% lot coverage. When there are some with up as much as 27 and 23% lot coverage. Third way we did it, and actually in your bylaw, it talks about the bulk of the building, which lot coverage is, not the only metric for determining bulk, but I think we should factor in the number of stories into the building also, and this being a one-story building with several 1.5 and 2-story buildings. So we factor the bulk in, the number of stories. The existing condition would be on the second page here, and the proposed will come up into this location here, although again, it'll be a little bit higher, but still well down on the page, based on the bulk, which I have in here as the percent lot coverage times the number of stories as one way of doing it. I believe that this, for one, because the addition, unfortunately, the architect did not draw the front elevation, but because the roof is the same height as the existing roof, it will not be visible from the road. It will not be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood. In that sense, it wouldn't even be noticeable because it's not increasing in height at all. The bulk of this building, as visible from the street, is not increasing. So I feel that this, although it's 22% rather than the 20%, will be still in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and will not be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood. That's my presentation, but I think I would like to point out one thing as far as the number of bedrooms and the septic system. There was a sign-off from the health department. When we started this originally, I was told they were not going to add any bedrooms, and the health department signed off before these plans came to my office. This plan seems to show has a new bedroom here, which originally was only going to be a living room, and I frankly only noticed it as I was going over the plans tonight. So these plans would appear to be adding a bedroom, and I feel I will have to work with Dave in the health department and the owner to resolve that issue. So I will leave it at that for now as my presentation and take questions.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'll let the clerk read in the referrals.
Engineering is its standard comment. Building, no comment. Water, no comment. Planning, no comment. The health comment was, as you said, received June 4th, and at that time it said as long as the addition is on posts, there are no setback issues with the project. A variance would be required for any other type of foundation. Oh, and there was also one email in support from Lillian and Leonard Holden of 49 Winthrop Drive.
Thank you, Kim.
Excuse me, Kim, what was the date of the ordinance?
June 4th was when we received it, and it was dated June 4th as well.
Thank you. Ken, you want to start us off?
Well, you already anticipated my question about the third bedroom. Sort of related to that is the use of the den, which does have a door at this point on the plan.
Right, that, I have septic as-built. I could submit it purporting to show it as 3 bedrooms, but I saw the town sheets has it listed as 2 bedrooms. So I'll have to get that resolved. And that den could be counted as a bedroom, which could make this look like a 4-bedroom house.
For clarification, excuse me, what town sheet shows it as 2 bedrooms?
The assessors off of the,
Okay, assessor's records only go by what they see, so that they can tax it. It's not a matter of record for this board.
But it's an
So where does that leave us?
It leaves you with, the Board of Health has to approve that septic
Right.
capacity can't handle that 3rd bedroom.
But you're saying the design flow, as far as you know, the design flow is for 3 bedrooms?
yes, that sheet there was done in 2008, shows it as a 3-bedroom system. And I think it would be a matter of opening that
The
den
Yeah. Okay.
somehow.
So having that, a cased opening is something that could be entertained as an alternative.
Yes.
I guess the one other question is, in terms of the increase in lot coverage between the June 25th submission and the July 23rd submission, what is the difference? Why did lot coverage go up that fraction?
The front steps.
Okay, that's what I guessed.
It was
Yeah. All right.
a prefab, one of those concrete steps, and we hadn't included it, but I talked with Sari just a few days ago, and she said that's considered part of the structure, so that's what I
Okay,
added.
that was my guess. Okay, good. Those are my two questions at the moment.
Kim, you have anything for Tom?
Sure. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
So the first question is just to confirm that the addition will be on posts and not have a basement?
It will not have a basement, yes, we have it on posts here, so
Okay.
it'll have to be approved by the health department for this.
Okay. Do you have, or does your client have any plans to expand the 80 square foot shed in the backyard or add any other accessory structures?
No,
Okay. Any plan to have a back deck or patio?
currently none that I know of, no. There's, in the plans, they just show steps going down to grade.
Okay.
Patio could be, I mean, there's a little bit of lot coverage left under the 40%, so there could be some patio, but
Okay.
no deck.
Well, that was my next question. So what is the total coverage? Did you provide that? Because I can't-
Yes.
Thought
It's
that was just-
31% or something.
Okay, so that's the total. Okay,
32.7.
okay. And you are not increasing the side yard setback nonconformity on the right side?
No,
Just for the record.
nothing going on there.
Those were my questions.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank
Patty?
you.
When were the bedrooms added to the house? I mean, the ones on the right side.
That I do not know. It was prior to 2008 when that septic upgrade was done, but beyond that, I don't know.
So it hasn't been 10, you don't know whether it's been 10 years?
I don't know for sure. No. I can go and look at the building permit from that.
Those are my only questions. That is my only question.
Thank you, Patty. Mark? Anything for
Yeah, Tom, just for clarification, in 2008 was when the new septic system was put in and
Yes.
installed? And allegedly, it was for 3 bedrooms? So that's the point of
what I had
contention
on
right now?
this.
Whether or not it is or isn't, we
Well,
have
it's
to
for
find
3
out.
bedrooms, and but it's definitely not for 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
And the way the plan is drawn right now, showing, originally, I was told this would be a living room study here.
Mhm.
It turned into a bedroom on this plan. So that would have left it as a 3-bedroom house, but now I have to see how they can keep it as a 3-bedroom house and not as a 4.
You said in the file, the existing basement is finished or unfinished?
It's
And-
unfinished.
And used for storage and utilities?
Yes,
And that's the intent?
yes.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mark. Matt, any questions for Tom?
Yep, just following up on a few things. Tom, first of all, in terms of the information regarding the neighborhood, I haven't had a chance to look at it if it just came in, because as you know, we ask for everything a week in advance, so.
I didn't.
Just get off, there was some particular reason that would be helpful. The other is, 1975, there was a variance that had been denied by this board on this property. But all we have is the decision. We don't have the application. Do you know what the variance request was for? And whether or not this addition will impose upon the area that the board had denied the variance?
I don't know, but I guess that's more research I'd have to do.
Okay.
Is that variance in the front?
It is, it's just a denial of the variance. It doesn't
that's the
talk
short
about
variance.
what it's for. And again, just to explain, the reason I think it's important is if we're adding into an area that had been previously denied, yeah, we just need to
Need it for the
understand.
record.
And of course, a variance is different than a special permit, but it was, in 1975, a variance that was denied.
It's probably for a prior owner, and there might not be any history left of it.
Don't know. And we do have the basement plan that Mark talked about. That's it, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Tom, the height of that proposed addition, you said it's the same as the home, but what is that?
Probably only about 20 feet or so.
It's not on the A1, it's not there.
This is not the scale, but I mean, it's certainly not 35 or over.
But you're not sure, right? And you said that during your testimony that this new addition won't be visible from the street, is that correct?
As you're approaching, if you look down the driveway, you catch a glimpse of it down there, but if, head on or from the neighbor across the street, it would not be visible.
And it's a two-bedroom now going to a three?
Or four.
Or four.
If the existing room is, if all the existing rooms are considered bedrooms on there, although what they call a den, could be considered a bedroom, that would be the 3 bedrooms that the system is for now, so we have to resolve not adding a bedroom to it.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Any further questions for Tom?
No.
Sari? Would anybody like to speak in opposition to this application? Would anybody like to speak in favor of this application? This board want to
So I think
discuss
we
this
need,
application?
well, I think we need to continue it. We have issues with the bedroom count, the size of the septic system,
The variance.
the variance in the past, so I think there's no sense in doing anything more than just continuing at this point.
And update the neighborhood information because it seems to be off a little bit.
So I would move
In
that,
any way, the plans need to be revised because either a bedroom's eliminated
Right.
or cased opening, so the plans
Right,
would have to be
right,
revised anyway.
right, exactly. So when should we continue it to?
Gonna have to ask
Question for Sari and the
Oh,
applicant.
sorry.
September 11th is going to, for continuation, Sari?
Yeah, because we continued at Wald and.
American Tower.
Wald is the 4th.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, because
And the Gans is the
I'm bringing
fourth.
through this. My only issue with doing it on the 11th is that's the only date I have for applications coming in now as well without a waiver.
Can you fit it on the
Do you think
4th?
it would be too tight if we put this on the 4th?
I mean, I think
should
be
if we
fine.
answer the, there's not a
Should be
whole
pretty
lot to this if we can just address.
That's what I'm asking.
That's what I would think that also.
Okay.
It should be
So-
pretty quick.
So
Is that good with you?
that's your motion?
My motion would be to continue application, what is this? 4514, to September 4th, 6:30 here in Town Hall.
Seconded by Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous. All right, Tom, we'll see you then.
All right.
Thank you.
That's going to keep his plan.
Can I have the copy?
You're keeping your plan.
Oh, no, it has nothing to do with that.
I'll take those plans to Matt.
What? This vote?
As long as you
No,
gotta keep an eye on it.
sorry.
Can we take a quick break?
Oh, I pulled out
Oh, you
two.
drank too much coffee?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
time's a charm, Bob, so go right ahead.
Mr. Haddad, thank you very much, and thank you for your indulgence. My clients apologize for being late. I apologize to the audience for being here longer. I'm sure American Tower appreciated going first, and I thank Mr. McNamara and the others for asking a lot of questions of them. This is the continued hearing on the application for a special permit. It's a two-part special permit. One is for permission to have a parking for a fee lot on Nye Road in conjunction with the development of the corner of Nye Road and Main Street for a relatively small commercial building with 2 apartments above it. And the second part of the application is for an alternate surface for the lot. So present with me tonight are Robert Walker, he's the principal of Ryan Development. Kevin Erickson is the general counsel for Ryan, and Joe Pesnola is their professional engineer. And of course, for your record, I'm Bob Ament, Falmouth attorney. I have read the many letters, perhaps 24, maybe even more, from residents, some fairly close to the site in question, others from far removed in Falmouth. Many of the letter writers are probably here tonight, and all of those letters have expressed opposition to our request. Most of the letters say about the same thing. There's a helpful letter from Jerry Smith, who spoke at the last hearing, and I'll discuss that later. Now, I'd like to say, in light of all that opposition, that if the board grants the special permit as requested, I think it will not be a popular decision, but I think it will be the correct decision, correct under the law, an appropriate exercise of your discretion, ultimately good for the community and in line with the town's long-term planning. Our plan conforms to the requirements of the zoning bylaw, and since the last hearing, the plan has been revised in several ways to address legitimate concerns raised by the neighbors and the board. Lighting has been reduced in height so that the fixtures are 8 feet high. The evergreen buffer has been proposed to be higher. A turnaround space is now shown within the parking area, which reduces the number of parking spaces to 34. A guardrail is shown on the plan to separate the building's parking from the rear lot. The plan also shows a suggested alternate sidewalk plan in response to Mr. Foreman's wish to have the sidewalk area reduced. Now, there may be 2 commercial tenants in the first floor of the building, maybe 2 residences. We think that the plan as originally proposed is more aesthetic, with the curve that allows handicap accessible access from both sides of the property at the front walk. And our preferred plan already meets lot coverage requirements, but the plan does show that alternate which you could consider. Since the last meeting, we obtained and submitted the building commissioner's determination that his designation of Main Street for the primary front yard, so only side yard setback requirements apply along Nye Road in accordance with the zoning bylaw. Mr. Pesnola, the engineer, also reviewed with the town engineer stormwater management issues if permeable pavement is installed, and the town engineer has submitted to the board correspondence agreeing that the plan meets town standards for that surface. Now, Mr. Walker wants to use the grass block for the parking in the rear. He feels that it is more friendly to the neighborhood. He thinks it's appropriate even for winter use that it can be paved, but we're asking for permeable pavement as an alternative. And as I said, the town engineer feels that that works just as well as the grass block. We would ask that you approve the grass block surface, but without coming back to the board, allow the applicant to use permeable pavement at a later time if necessary. And all the lot coverage calculations included all of that parking, permeable or grass block, as lot coverage. At the June hearing, I said that business redevelopment calls for parking to be in the rear of Main Street redevelopment, and that parking for BR development is expressly permitted to be on a separate parcel within 300 feet of the business it serves, even across a street 60 feet wide. The proposed rear parking would serve a nearby business. It is not intended for ferry customers. Letters written claim there's no need for the proposed parking. They figure if there's no need, the special permit would be denied and the existing houses in the B2 district, 17 and 19-9, would not be removed. At the last hearing, I pointed out a few nearby properties on both sides of Main Street, including the phase properties that have been discussed for much-needed redevelopment, properties that are outdated and underutilized or unattractive that could use the proposed parking. The availability of parking as proposed will, in fact, encourage and enable the very redevelopment along Main Street that the Planning Board and Town Meeting voted for. And when the business redevelopment area was created a few years ago, the area where this proposed lot, this parking for a fee lot would be, was left specifically as Business 2 development behind the business redevelopment property on the corner itself. Looking at Main Street tonight, looking at the parking in this area, and with the town having a stated goal of trying to move downtown to the east, the idea that we don't need parking or shouldn't approve a parking lot in the business zone to serve local businesses nearby, I think is simply the wrong thinking. Now, the corner lot at 587 Main Street, formerly a gas station, has been little used and unattractive for decades. The proposed building is small. It will generate very little traffic. It's only 2,800 square feet of commercial space with 2 second-floor apartments, which replace the existing dwellings, resulting in no loss of dwelling units. I've given to the board the chart, the table of the Institute of Traffic Engineers, which publishes trip generation rates, so that you could see, have in your record, the design standards for trips per hour, per peak hour, for the type of uses that we would expect. For general office use of the size proposed, and for 2 apartments, fewer than 6 trips per peak hour are indicated by the Institute of Traffic Engineers. And each trip in or out of the site, as you know, is a separate trip. 3 cars in, 3 cars out, on the average, in the peak hour. That use is not going to overburden the traffic on Main Street. It is probably the least traffic one could anticipate for any development whatsoever on that corner. Sure, there are some retail uses, and there are other types of offices, like doctor's offices, that could generate more trip, uses that are allowed by right. But 2,800 square feet of commercial space is not very much. And the size of the proposed building has actually been limited because of the intention to use the rear of the property, not for more parking to necessarily serve the corner property, but to be available to serve other business redevelopment in the immediate vicinity. I mentioned uses that are allowed by right at the first hearing, and one speaker perceived that as offensive, as some kind of a threat. But comparing the impact of the proposed development, the proposed special use, to by right development is entirely appropriate. The lot on Main Street will be built upon. It's remarkable it hasn't been built upon in all these years. It will be built upon. And the parking for that building, in accordance with the business redevelopment bylaw, is going to be behind that building. The two small houses and Main Street lot are in common ownership, and the business-zoned house lots add great value to the Main Street frontage. It's highly likely that the properties will be sold and developed together. Comparing by right use of the property to the proposed special permit use should lead you to conclude that the special permit use as requested will have fewer impacts and can be better conditioned and regulated. But understanding what is allowed by right should also inform the board about what, through the zoning bylaw, the town has determined is deemed expected and accepted, compatible and perhaps inevitable, where there is business development next to residential areas. And at some point, the business zone has to end and the residence zone begins, and there will be that separation. This comparison should help the board determine that the proposed uses in their impact on the neighborhood and town are in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw, with what's allowed by right, in fact. With that said, let me note just one more, as I did last month, example of the kind of use that is allowed by right. We have a proposed 2,800 square foot area of first floor commercial space in the building. That's just about the same size as the Stone Love and Pizza property at 271 Main Street, where just last year the board approved 93 seats inside the restaurant. Class 2 restaurants are allowed by right in the business redevelopment and Business 2 districts. And the Business 2 allows Class 3 restaurants by right, and a Class 3 restaurant is allowed by special permit in the business redevelopment. There is every reason to expect that there will be redevelopment of the Main Street portion of the property for some business use that will be allowed by right and will use the property to the rear for parking. And depending on that use, the traffic trips and the parking turnover and the use at night will have far greater, or may have far greater impacts than the proposed regulated parking. I suggest that where a special permit use is provided for in the zoning bylaw, provided that you can grant that subject to review with conditions, where that's provided in the bylaw and the applicant shows that the impacts will be no more adverse than the uses allowed by right, it may be arbitrary and capricious for the board to deny that special permit. The proposed small building has been favorably reviewed by the Design Review Committee, and it was approved by the Planning Board under site plan review, and it will have only a minor impact on traffic. The Main Street curb cut will be eliminated. Talk of danger to children, delays in emergency response time, and reduction in service levels is unfounded conjecture. It's got no basis in reality. The rear parking will by itself create no traffic. It is not a destination business. The only traffic to the rear lot will be for businesses allowed elsewhere in the immediate area. The nature of the parking with gated access limited to authorized staff, customers, or guests of a nearby business will likely have less impact than by right business parking would generally have. As I conclude, there are two letters I would like to comment on. One is from Christy Baxter. It was received just today. She's a resident of Sudbury, according to the assessor's records, but she has a home in Falmouth 7/10 of a mile from the project site. I think it's worth commenting on her letter because she's a research scientist in at MIT's Department of Urban Studies and Planning. So with due respect, I think it's important to point out a few of the misstatements in her letter. Dr. Baxter.
Before you do, indulge me for a second, because you hit 15 minutes. How much longer are you going to need?
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Anybody want to make a motion to give Bob another?
Let's give him 5, just in case.
How's that sound? 5 minutes, that's seconded by you, Patty?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor for 5, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you again. Dr. Baxter says the zoning bylaw restricts the development of parking isolated from the uses they support, and that's not true. In fact, the zoning bylaw expressly allows parking for a fee lots in the B2 district, as we have applied for. And apart from that special permit use, which Dr. Baxter seemed unaware of, both sections 240-109 and section 240-240 allow a use's required parking to be on a different lot, even across the street from the use that it serves. Should the proposed Nye Road parking lot serve a use on the Fays property across Main Street, it will in fact meet the bylaw requirements, including being within 300 feet of the property line of that property. Dr. Baxter also refers to a 25-foot front yard requirement, apparently unaware of the building commissioner's corner lot designation that I referred to earlier. I reiterate that the applicant believes the bylaw requirements have all been met. Dr. Baxter suggests that even if the plan complies with all the bylaw requirements, the setback and landscaping requirements, we still can't meet the general performance requirements, even for a by right use. I respectfully disagree. Business parking in the B2 zone, properly set back and landscaped to meet the bylaw requirements, simply does not create a nuisance. The applicant is open to considering additional recommendations if the board has any to further improve the plan. The second letter I want to comment on is Mr. Smith's letter. He's the immediate abutter. He writes that he is not trying to stop the proposed project. He writes that he is not against the key entry 24/7 lot abutting his property. He says he's concerned about his privacy. The applicant's plan changes are responsive to those concerns. A row of 10-foot high trees is an alternative that has been proposed. A double row of 8-foot trees can be planted that would be allowed to grow higher without, as high as they grow. The existing fence will be repaired and maintained, but the applicant feels that the arborvitae should be the higher screen, and that a 12-foot high fence, which is suggested, is not the answer. As mentioned, the lighting has been reduced at 8 feet high. From the very start, it will be below the trees. And a no right turn sign will be installed to direct cars out of the lot towards Main Street and not down Nye Road. The type of regulation that can be imposed, because this is a special permit use, that may not apply if for a by right use. Thank you for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer your questions, and I'm sure Mr. Pesnola or Mr. Walker would as well. And as you know, I don't usually write out my remarks, and I think this is an indication of the number of issues involved in this matter. But since I have a copy that I'll give you, and sometimes that might help in the preparation of the minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob. Kim, is there any new info that?
I think the only new was that there have been 29 letters in opposition, and there's still 1 letter in support that was mentioned at the last hearing.
Okay. Thank you. Mark, you want to have any questions for Bob?
Sure. Good evening. Thanks for that refresher guidance. My question, one of the comments that you did make was the planning board and town meeting vote of 2004. And the reason I bring that up is the town meeting vote, Ken might speak to this, but there was also a intention or an effort to create a municipal parking behind storefronts. Municipal parking at that point in time, I would assume, meant public parking. So I just wanted to make you aware, if you weren't.
Just getting to a question for Bob.
But would you say that public parking would be more detrimental or more negatively impacting than the exclusivity that you're putting in to just allow immediate vendors or business owners to use this parking area?
Well, I think that there are pros and cons. The public parking concept really opens up the parking to everybody, and that means anybody may be looking for a space. And we can see what's happening in downtown as the economy has improved and we have more and more destinations, restaurants that people want to go to downtown and so on. I think that a public parking lot in the proposed location would have much greater impacts than the parking that is proposed, simply because of, as we've described, the only people using this lot will be people who have the card or the pass to do it, and it will be strictly controlled, and you only can access the lot if there's a space available in it, because it's controlled by computer. So I think we are seeing a significant problem with parking here. I think if what the town planners and the town hope will happen is that there's more redevelopment downtown, I think there could be a need for more parking. But at least for the potential users of this lot, this is a way to make sure that there's enough parking and have flexibility of development of these other properties. I described, I mean, it's true of the Fays property, it's true of other properties on the other side of Main Street, that there just isn't enough space on those lots to really do a good job of redeveloping them. And one could certainly imagine, I know there's possibility, if not a likelihood, that this lot will be used by property across Main Street that's close enough to use it. But one could certainly imagine that it would make perfect sense for the property where the electric company is to be able to develop that and use the parking to their rear. So that's, I mean, a long response to your answer, but I think we do in fact need more parking. And this is, this piece of property is, I'm sure, is going to be used for parking. It's going to serve either a bigger building at the corner, or as we're proposing, be more limited in its use, more regulated, and serve another nearby property.
Thank you. My next question has to do with, could you describe to me potentially, now that it's put out there, it's going to be a 24/7 availability for parking. Could you put out or speak to who the potential users may be? And the reason I ask that is, are there any surrounding businesses that I know of? And you had mentioned it before, the Royal Nursing Home, they typically work shift work, so you would potentially have somebody.
It's possible, or another example.
What other businesses potentially that exist now would be on that list for using it at the wee hours of the night?
Well, if it were a true parking for a fee site, and if it were not limited as to who could use it.
I mean, under the conditions that we're in now, where you're just going to limit it to just the surrounding business communities. What other
Well,
businesses
there are commercial accommodations nearby. I don't know if they would need more parking and would want to have their nighttime staff there, or have overflow parking for their guests. There's been discussion in the newspaper and in this board at the last meeting about the possibility of commercial accommodations across Main Street. That might create a need for parking, and this would serve that. But when we talk about 24/7 in that context, or in a number of other contexts, we're talking about, yes, the lot's open. The cars would be parked there overnight, particularly maybe overflow parking. Sometimes somebody arrives in the night or leaves in the night. just as would be the case if the parking served an apartment complex. You know, most of the time it's quiet, but there are cars there 24/7, and there's no restriction to getting your car. And that's all we mean by 24/7.
That's all the questions I have now.
Thanks, Mark. Kim?
Hi, Bob. Thank you for your statements at the beginning. I found them helpful. And I think that you did, or the applicant did, probably both, respond to what we said last time, so I appreciate that. Just to clarify, the turnaround space, is that the diagonally marked space? So there's just going to be one space that's...
Yes, we wouldn't
Okay.
put it at the very end because it's easier to back into that space, which is one removed from the end.
Okay. All right. Beyond the chart that you just submitted tonight for the trip generation rates,
Yep.
Has the applicant engaged a traffic study engineer?
No, we haven't done a traffic report. I was somewhat amused, somewhat troubled by the suggestions in so much of the correspondence that this project was going to create all sorts of traffic studies and reduce levels of service at the intersection. So, we haven't had an engineer because I don't think you would normally have a traffic report, and the planning board and its site plan review did not require a traffic report for the kind of building of the size that we proposed. I gave you the figures, trips per peak hour, to give you an indication of the lack of impact of that development on Main Street traffic, which of course has tens of thousands of trips a day. And as I said, that parking for a fee lot itself, that doesn't create traffic, especially if it's for nearby businesses.
Okay. You mentioned that there was going to be, extra parking or additional parking in the rear of the building, on the portion of the lot that's in the BR. That parking that's there, is that all intended to serve the proposed building?
Yes, the proposed building has 2,800 square feet of first floor commercial space, so at 200 one parking space required for every 200 square feet, that's 14 spaces, plus there are two-bedroom apartments, each of which require 2. So 4 plus 14 is 18. That's the number of spaces that are shown. Now, it's very possible that the use would not be retail, that it'd be a general office use or something that requires a little bit less parking, 250 square feet per, requires a parking space for office use as opposed to retail. But the answer to your question is that those 18 spaces, which will be paved, are to serve that building, and spaces would be designated for the residential tenants.
So those would never be leased to an off-premise business?
Well, that number of spaces is required for that use, so I don't think that could be unless it, the zoning bylaw does provide for shared parking. One could imagine a redevelopment of the adjacent property where something could happen, but it's really speculative and conjecture. So as a practical matter, I think the answer is no. Those spaces are required for and designated for that building.
I have one more, I think. Okay. When you were answering a question that Mark asked, something that you said struck me, and I just wanted to ask you about it. You said if this were a true parking for a fee site and it was open to the public, and it's my understanding that you're applying for parking for a fee, that's what the special permit is.
Well, yes, but with restrictions which we've suggested that we think reduce the impacts.
But you still think that it's a project that would qualify for what was intended by town to be a parking for a fee?
Sure. Sure.
Just on the basis that you're leasing it and you're receiving a fee?
It's a designated off-site parking site. Certainly the intent of town meeting incorporates that, and the fact that people put in a card that they've received from a business that they're either working for or are a customer of doesn't change the nature of the parking, and that's our opinion. And what I was referring to would be just having a parking lot where anybody can go in and pay by the hour or the day, or, you know, to go to the vineyard or anything else. That's allowed. That would be permitted under the zoning bylaw section that we've applied under. We're suggesting restrictions that are suitable to the applicant and should be reassuring to the community.
Okay. I actually have one more. If I'm a business in the area and I lease 10 spaces, say I'm across the street, Marriott, 10 spaces. So I have, you know, workers who work different shifts. Is that 10 spaces 10 cards? So I have 10 access, you know, cards to that spot. Or is the intention, just so I understand how the business is envisioned or what the business model is the intention that you have those 10 spaces, but you might have 20 people with access to those 10 spaces?
Well, you're getting into an operational detail that I think it's a bit premature, and also something that the operator of that property can deal with. I'm sure that there may be extra passes or cards available, but that the people using the lot are going to be instructed as to its availability and how to use it. And although they may have the card that would give access, my understanding is that if there are already 34 cars in that lot, the gate will not open and allow access.
Okay,
I think also that this parking, for whatever business it serves, hotel or otherwise, may likely be overflow parking and often will not be fully used.
Okay. You just used, and I apologize to keep making me think of additional questions, you just used the term operator. Is there an intention to have a third party managing the site, or is it going to be the owner?
Well, I don't know who the ultimate owner of this lot will be. I think that there ought to be, certainly somebody is in charge, and that it's be a reasonable condition to require that there be somebody who can be called, somebody who's responsible.
Okay, so I guess
presumably that would be the one of either somebody on the property itself, so there is a business and there are tenants there, but more likely, if this property is used by a nearby business, then I would think that business would have the responsibility of dealing with whatever issues come up.
Okay, so let me ask it a different way, I guess. Is there any intention to have a third party that manages parking lots for a business managing this parking lot?
I think the answer to that is no. I think that if there is a business across Main Street that were to use this lot, I think that that business would be responsible for the daily inspection and picking up trash or whatever, and I think that if there's any kind of a problem, that there should be a way of contacting somebody immediately about it. It would be that business.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Ken?
Okay, I guess my questions go to the traffic generation issue. When you mentioned the low trip generation rates, you were referring to the building that you're proposing to build.
Right.
What about the trips generated from this lot? You've said that there will be other businesses that may be having access. What are those businesses? What are their trip generation rates?
The lot itself doesn't generate any
But it
traffic.
redirects the flow, okay? So that pertains to the level of service at that intersection of Nye Road and Main Street. So whether it generates new traffic or not is not really relevant. It's where the traffic goes.
Well, if we're talking about the lot that services a nearby business, very close, then the traffic is there. It's either an existing building use or a proposed use.
Well, it wouldn't normally go down Nye Road, would it?
We're not proposing that that traffic be directed down road, except to the extent of the business zone. So a distance of about 150 feet, not in front of any of the residential property. And there would be signage, which, because this is a special permit use, you can require. And it can, of course, is a continuing condition. If a by right use goes into that property, I predict that there'd be a lot more use of Nye Road by people who are going to the business.
I'm asking questions about this proposal, not some fictional other proposal. That traffic could impede flow at the intersection, which would affect those who live in the residential areas behind there. Is it true or false?
I think that the nature of the gated, restricted parking is such that the number of trips will be limited, that the number of trips will be less than many by right uses would result in for use of that lot, that property itself, as opposed to another use.
What will that trip generation be? I mean, you've cited the fact that other businesses will be sending their vehicles here, and without knowing what those businesses are and what their trip generation rates are, how do we know what the
Well, I
traffic will be?
believe that the analysis of trip generation from a proposed business is something that would be reviewed in connection with that business when an application is applied for. If it's a project that needs to go to the Cape Cod Commission, it would be reviewed by the Cape Cod Commission, and all the issues that you're referring to would be reviewed in the context of an application for a particular use on another property. But taking into account at that time, because a special permit would be requested, where the parking is going to be.
So, do we have any businesses specifically that you have agreements for with respect to this parking?
I think the answer to that is no. Is there a specific agreement? No. There is thoughts of redevelopment of a property across Main Street. It's been aired publicly, and without adequate parking in the area, the redevelopment of those properties is not as attractive.
Would this be exclusively for that proposed redevelopment? This one?
I think that is the most likely use. I've described, both at the last
Could
hearing
that be
and
a
again
condition?
tonight, that there's...
I mean, how would one condition that? There is no approved business anywhere else.
Well, first of all, I think it could be a mistake to condition it, because the parking that's proposed could very well encourage, enable, and serve redevelopment of other property
So there might
within the
be
immediate...
multiple businesses using this.
Well, it's conceivable, but there are only 34 spaces. I suppose it's...
But as has been pointed out, that multiple cards beyond the number of spaces could be issued, and cars could go in and out at will, so, 10 cars could use the same space in a day if they vacated every hour.
It's theoretically possible. That's true. I think that if the board were interested in limiting the use of the lot to specific businesses or property, that would be conceivable, but I really think that that's something to be considered later.
So it just, to me, it's an important issue, that the trip generation issue, which at present, I don't feel we have adequate information about. We could have more than one business, and would you be willing to undertake a traffic study?
I'd have to consult with my client whether in connection with this we would need to. If we were simply asking for parking for a fee with an open lot to the public, I don't think people would come to that lot except people who are looking for a parking space to go to some other business that already exists in the neighborhood.
Right, but, you can look at across the street, and there's lots of trips in and out, because there's a demand for parking, and you're arguing, or have argued, that there's a need for this parking, so, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but
Well,
I'd
I've
just
also
like to
said
know
that
what the
this
traffic
part- that this
generation is likely to
parking-
be.
that this area will be used for parking in any case. It's almost inevitable for the reasons I've stated, and that we've actually, in effect, significantly reduced the likely traffic generation on Nye Road because of the way we're limiting the type of business at the corner and restricting the type of parking that could be there. I don't think we're going to create additional traffic on Nye Road.
Any other questions for Bob?
You don't think you're going to create additional traffic on Nye
Not
Road?
beyond what's allowed, not beyond what's allowed by right, by having it be parking
But
for a fee, we're
compared to what's
reducing
there
it.
now?
Well, there's, yes, right now, there's a not quite, but almost blighted corner, and there are two small houses. So, yes, of course, we'd be generating more trips on that short section of Nye Road than exist today, and I believe fewer than would be allowed by right uses.
I guess,
And I also think that the use of the lot is, if it's for existing businesses, it's only dealing with existing demand, and if it's more likely for future businesses.
but again, it's
for
redirecting
business.
flow. I think it's fair to ask for some kind of assessment of what the traffic impact will be.
Anything else for Bob?
That's it.
Patty, you have any questions for Bob? I know you're not sitting on this,
I am
but
not a
you've been,
voting member, and
but you're right here. You have anything?
I'm not prepared to ask any questions.
Okay, Matt?
But I'm listening.
Sure. Bob, if I could follow up on a question that Kim asked you in terms of the operator of the property, and you mentioned that you're not sure who ultimately the owner of the property would be. But this is also property, 3 lots that will be merged, so whomever that owner is will be the owner of the entire space, not just the front or the back, is that correct?
It will be a merged lot, so that's correct. There certainly could be a long-term lease of a portion of the property. There are any number of ownership models that could be. I don't know who, and I don't know who the owner will be, or whether the same owner will own property nearby. I just don't know that.
Okay, so it is possible that different portions of this property could be leased on a long-term basis?
I think it's
and-
almost certain that the portions of the proposed building, both the residential and the commercial property, will be leased, possibly for long terms,
No,
with obligations of the tenants to do certain things. One could certainly imagine that if a tenant were, for instance, of the commercial space, were a real estate office, and why not, that the real estate office would take on the responsibility of policing the lot daily. One could imagine that.
So merged lot will then have split zoning on that merged lot?
Well,
This is redevelopment in B2.
yes, I'm not sure that I think that the zoning line presently follows the property line.
Well, that was the
But-
next question I
sure.
wanted to ask you. The proposed building, does that fall completely in the business redevelopment zone?
Yes,
Okay. And then I would assume the parking lots, parking for a fee is all in the B2.
all of the parking for a fee is in the B2.
So that leads me to my confusion, and perhaps you can help me. There's been reference by you tonight and others about parking for nearby businesses within 300 feet and in the immediate area. But that's what's indicated in business redevelopment. So why would that standard apply to property in the B2 zone?
Because the zoning bylaw doesn't preclude that at all. And if the proposed parking were to be used for commercial accommodations, as an example, commercial accommodations is allowed use in the business redevelopment district and in the B2 district. And you're really asking a question that would be appropriately asked when one is considering where the parking is for a proposed use, And does that comply
No,
with the
you-
zoning?
You're guessing at what my questions might be, and I don't want you to do that. I said I was confused because you've made reference to the 300-foot standard.
But that's also in 240-109. It's not just in 240-240. It's 300 feet in that case from the front door of the business it serves. The language is a little bit different.
The difference being, however, is that in the business redevelopment, it's looking for shared parking where there's an attempt for a long-term agreement so that there isn't multiple changes to those agreements.
You're really asking a question about the compliance with parking requirements for a proposed use on a different property. We've applied for parking for a fee, and we're not asking you to approve this parking for a particular use across the street.
You're light years ahead of me. You're guessing at what I'm trying to get at. I'm back limited to my confusion that I'm trying to resolve. If I may, Bob. The business redevelopment is just the front building. And if I'm correct, you said at the last hearing that if it were just that property alone, you wouldn't need the zoning board of appeals. You could do that.
Well, when you say if just that property alone, whether it's not all of the parking for the building in front is actually on the present corner lot. Little of it extends into the B2. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having some of the parking that serves a business redevelopment use be within the business 2
Bob,
district.
Please, just try to focus on my questions. Let me back up then. At the last hearing, did you in fact say that if it were for the front building alone, you wouldn't need to come before the zoning board of appeals?
True. If we were not asking for parking for a fee, we would not need a special
So
permit.
that's business redevelopment. Let's move away from business redevelopment for a moment and get to B2. Parking for a fee allowed by special permit. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. No restriction is there for shared parking in a B2 district.
That is true, too.
Okay. So I just wanted to clarify. It was very simple. I wasn't projecting where it might be, et cetera. On the material of the lots, Bob, you mentioned grass block. Is that basically the same as reinforced turf or grass pavers? Is that the same terminology?
No to the first proposal of simply, but I think I'm going to have Mr. Penzola answer that, Peznola answer that.
All right, and then I can ask him the questions related to that.
Good evening. Again, for the record, Joe Peznola from Hancock Associates. The product that we're proposing is called Grass Pave 2. It's a mat, and the bottom of the mat is treated with a growth accelerator to help the grass grow. And then there's a media that it's a sand media, special media that's put into the rings, the plastic rings, that reinforce that, kind of tie the whole system together, and then the grass grows up through that. The grass is, the root system is allowed to grow into the sub-base material. And what they've found is that because of that, the system and the way it's the function, that the root zone goes down very deep, and that whole system kind of locks it through, and it's very durable. It's been tested for large fire engine outriggers. It's used on many times. It's used on fire access lanes around buildings where they don't want pavement around buildings or what have you, or similar situations. So it's a very, very durable product.
Okay. So if you go back just to the question that I asked, and I appreciate that, and I did read the information on it, but are they all similar terms, grass block, grass pavers, reinforced turf?
I think, no, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I'd say grass block is a concrete product that's put down manually and has voids in it, holes in it, where you put loam and grow.
That's what confused, because Bob just mentioned glass block, and that's not what you're putting in?
No.
Okay, it's grass pavers. Now, you mentioned about it being used for fire truck, fire access, et cetera, and actually this board has approved that in certain locations. Will this use be overused for the grass pavers? Access by a fire truck may happen, hopefully never, or it may happen once a year, but this is going to be 24/7 use of this surface.
We've consulted with the manufacturer, and they've had applications across the country, including cold weather, in which they're used just for this exact purpose for parking lots.
And can be snow plowed?
Yes.
And how do you keep it green?
How do you keep it green?
Yeah.
I think you.
Otherwise brown?
Yeah. I think
Weeds are going
it's
to be-
a living material, so it's got to be maintained.
So does that mean there will be an irrigation system?
It may. When we're talking to the manufacturers, it really depends on factors such as shade, exposure to sunlight, natural rainfalls, and so forth. They do, in many instances, recommend some form of irrigation.
Okay. Will the lot have to be mowed, meaning that there will have to be a point where there are no cars there?
Yes.
Okay. So how often does the lot?
Not as often as your lawn. I think because of just the system and the way that it's set up. So I would venture to guess in the high growing season once every 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, it's indicated as being permeable in order to get the calculations from the engineering department. How do you keep it permeable? I mean, you're bringing in dirt, dust, their car, oils, whatever. How do you keep it permeable?
Good question. It needs to be maintained, and what happens is where you'd get the blockage is in that sand media. So they would have to essentially replace that media that's in the little cups. So they'd come out, they'd have to remove sections of the turf, and then vacuum out the media, and then replace that and kind of reinvigorate it, if you will. But the lot is designed from a grading standpoint to be a depression in itself. So it's going to be very obvious to the management company for the parking lot when there's a permeability problem in the future, and they would not create an issue for the abutters because it is a bowl and can store the water while it's in conditions when the permeability might decrease. It's not going to happen all at once. It's not going to go from being permeable to non-permeable. We'll see a decreased drain time, and we'll put together an operation and maintenance plan that will talk about just that how long we anticipate the drain time after a storm event should be. If it's a very intense 2.5 inches in an hour event, you'll get puddling in the center of the parking lot. It's just too much water to soak in. So we'll be able to give the people that are implementing the operation and maintenance plan some guidance for what we anticipate the drain times are and when it constitutes need for more intensive maintenance or refreshing of the system, if you will.
And that leads me to my next question, and that is, have those calculations been provided to the town engineer yet? Because potentially what you're saying is, not only when it becomes maintenance, but let's say this lot, for whatever reason, goes unused for a period of time, and we start to lose the permeability, how much of a rise before it flows over into Nye Road?
We've designed it to take the 100-year storm.
Okay.
And that's 6.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. The town engineers asked us to look at the town's requirements, which are a little bit, on one side a little bit less, but on the other side a little bit more. It's known as the 25-year 1-hour storm. It's 2.5 inches over an hour period. It's a very It's the big thunderstorm, the gully washer. So we've provided both that data and the 100-year storm, the 6.5 inches of rain, to demonstrate that. In those calculations, we've taken a conservative permeability of the system, if you will, 2.4 inches per hour through the grass. It's going to be initially very much faster than that. And then we've got good sands below, and we've got a stone reservoir below. So we don't just rely on the water soaking through the grass paved system and then into the sand below, but we give it a stone area to sit to then get into the surrounding soils. So it's a system that mimics the real world natural ecosystem almost perfectly, because as you know, if it rains on an open vacant lot, it all soaks into the ground. So
Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
You all set? While you're up there, maybe you can't answer this. The grass pavers versus the permeable pavement, when is that decision going to be made? Which one it is?
I mean, we're committed to the grass pave. I think we just, as a team, wanted to have that opportunity. The alternative surface is what is required of this board to grant a special permit. We just wanted to be, in direct answer to your question, we don't know, but we want the opportunity, if there are maintenance problems, or if all of the data that we've looked at and all of the installations that we've looked at from the manufacturer turn out to be wrong, and it may be just how it's operated, how it's maintained, or what have you. But that's keeping the possibility out there. Our commitment is for the grass lawn.
All right, thank you.
That's what we're putting all our energy to.
Thanks. And Bob, just to follow up to one of Ken's questions to you. So you're saying that you don't have any business owners now that are looking to use this spot? No one's come forward? I haven't seen anything in the file like, I want to go there, that type of thing. Is that what you're saying? I know that proposed Marriott, it could be one, but I'm saying any of the existing ones now.
No, we don't have plans now. The lot, even though it's one lot, with lease arrangements, it could actually serve a more intense use of the building that's proposed on the corner. But more likely, I mean, and the purpose of this, and it goes directly to the issue of need, is that the intention that this may serve a development across the street and is intended to help make that possible.
So not the needs now of the town?
I'm sorry?
Not the needs now of the business owners in town?
That's correct.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Sue, you have any questions?
When do you believe that the intent to construct this is within a time frame?
Well, certainly the rights under the permit have to be exercised within a period of time, 2 years, as you know, without getting an extension.
So you're not going to only construct this based on what may or may not happen across the street?
I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Bob? All right, I'm going to go back to public comment, but as you know, the file's been in the office for public review for, I don't know, since we were here last and before that. I know people spoke last time, so I don't want to rehash old stuff. Please try to stick to base your, what you're gonna, your comments on, what you heard tonight, the new information. We do realize there's 29 letters in opposition, so, and there's a lot of people here. I said before at the last hearing, this isn't a popularity contest. Just get up, stick to the new, what you heard tonight, and that's how we're going to base our decision, what was in the file, what you say tonight on this information. So, does anybody want to speak in opposition of this application?
Oh, good, we can.
No, I was just going to say, Ms. McDonald, do you have something new to add? If you can.
I had some questions.
Go ahead, ma'am, step up. Try to answer those for you.
Leslie McDonald, Queen Street, Precinct 2. Could it be a car lot? A used car lot? I don't know, may I ask?
I don't think so.
They're not applying for a used car lot, they're applying for parking for a fee with an alternative service.
For a business across the street?
That's yet to be determined, I believe.
But could it, is that within the realm
Depends how
of?
the board conditions it if they approve it, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't be answering.
No, that's fine.
Could it be a boat storage lot?
Why don't you run through your questions, and I'll try to get these answers.
Okay, could it be a car lot? Could it be a boat storage lot? Could it be a lot for buses, tourist buses that are looking for a place to go during the day and often leave their engines running for the air conditioning or the heat in the winter? That was one question. Second question, why would there be a request for a paved lot on the front part of the project and permeable pavers on the south side of the lot?
You were here for the last hour, right? I think
Well,
they-
but he even
I think they went
explained-
over all that.
It didn't explain why pavement in the front and the grass in the back.
Okay, so maybe they can.
So there's they've distinguished themselves, the difference, and I wanted to know what their difference was. And then you talked about the traffic calculations, because 35 lots, 35 spots times 3 shifts would be a lot more than just an occasional in and out. And I think those are my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, there was
Oh.
one more. I was wordy, and I appreciate very much the time that you granted me last time, but I didn't write it down because I didn't. I had written 3 other essays. So if, I know that spoken testimony is summarized, but I was very specific when I was talking. I can write it, and I'm willing to write it if that is something that you feel is necessary, but I don't want to overload you with words. So maybe Sari could,
Our minutes just, even our comments are just summarized. If
yes,
Sari went word for word verbatim, she'd have, I don't know.
understood.
Thank
And I
you.
wouldn't do it verbatim either, but I would cover the issues that I was specific about talking if it were necessary to accomplish what I was trying to get across.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir in the red shirt, go right ahead.
My name's Gary Gerard. I live at 28 Nye Road, which is right over here. It's right across the street.
I remember the project.
Excuse me?
I remember your project.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Members of the board, so thank you. I'm not opposed to this because I think this is an eyesore, and I think that's fine. But my concern as a homeowner over here with 2 kids, my daughter riding her bike down the street all the time, it's a residential street. It's a tree-lined residential street. And when he says that there's not going to be problems with the traffic, you know, I'm looking at this parking lot here, as she just mentioned, 35 spots. And even with a left turn sign, you know people are going to be going right. And that's going to be going right by our house. And I'm just curious, a year from now or 2 years, this parking lot's in, who's enforcing this? Who's saying, hey, this person is not going left? So I think a traffic study, certainly, maybe video surveillance of some sort that can capture license plates, I mean, something to keep these people, if this gets approved, because we probably don't have much say in that, just to keep them from going down and ruining this residential neighborhood. That's what I wanted to say. We're here year-round, we're not just, you know, seasonal, so I'm concerned about that.
Thank you, Gary. Go right ahead, sir.
My name's Brian Ridgway. I live on Lanton Lane.
in looking at this, it's obvious to me that the developers want a parking lot. Now, they've sweetened the pie with a nice building on Main Street that probably will be approved, but they're not connected. They're two separate items going on here. They're demolishing two residential properties and putting in a parking lot. It's obvious it's for the place across the road. And as a real estate appraiser, this is definitely going to have a negative effect on residential values on Nye Road.
All right, thank you, sir. Go ahead, ma'am. Something new, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Patricia Berry. I live at 26 Queen Street. I am speaking in opposition to this application. Why? Because existing roads cannot support it. The increase in traffic from this development will decrease safety for vehicles, bicycles, and also for pedestrians. It will increase air and noise pollution in the area. The infrastructure and the traffic is already bad. This proposal is a tipping point. The width of the roads always equates to safety. In this particular developer's plan, it shows Nye Road as being a 40-foot right-of-way. Nye Road is 18 feet wide. 18 feet of pavement. A road should be 24 feet wide. Nye Road is 6 feet smaller than what it should be. By comparison, a two-car garage averages 20 feet wide. Driving down Nye Road is like driving in an area that is smaller than a two-car garage. A car and a school bus don't fit. Nye Road and Queen Street are residential. They are not built for high-volume traffic. They're minor streets, and by definition, a minor street is, and I quote, used primarily to provide access to abutting lots and which will not be used for through traffic. Simply, Nye and Queen Streets are not wide, they don't have yellow lines, they don't have curbs. The intersections are not adequately designed for high volumes of traffic. There's no street parking. The sidewalks are not easily passable. So let's take a look at that intersection design of Nye and Main. Perpendicular intersections are intersections with 90-degree angles or best. The angle in here at best is 73 degrees. This means that the radius needed to make that turn is bigger. The intersections of 70 degrees or less are required to be modified. Say a vehicle is turning from Main onto Nye. If vehicles are on Nye at the stop sign, it's virtually impossible for a vehicle to turn onto Nye due to the narrowness of Nye at that intersection. Therefore, you have a traffic stalemate until the vehicles on Nye clear that intersection. Let's look at the curb cuts into businesses at this intersection. One is for a gas station convenience store, a 24-foot curb cut for the proposed 18-car parking lot. Another proposed 35-space parking lot. Another one for a realty company, the car dealership, and an alley to apartments. All of these curb cuts are located in the first about 75 feet of Nye and Main.
Ma'am, if you could just summarize what you're trying to get at, stick to
Well,
this application in particular. We all are well aware of Nye Road, Queen Street, Main Street. We've lived in town pretty much all our lives.
Okay, for all these business curb cuts, they're all on a residential road. If you notice too, the proposed curb cuts into the parking lot are all 24 feet. That's 6 feet wider than the road. Why? It speaks volumes, because that's the requirement, the standard, 24 feet. There also appears to be a design problem with the new 35-space parking lot. The entryway for the vehicles is only 4 feet long. For vehicles going south down Nye, they'll stick out onto Nye as they wait for the key card-operated lift gate to open. If there is also a car on Nye waiting to turn into the lot at the same time, traffic is stopped in both directions. The 4-foot entryway is even worse for vehicles that are traveling north down Nye, since they will take up both lanes on Nye until the key card-operated lift gate opens. If you are like me, I think of how many times I have had to back up and retry getting close enough to a key card machine, and still had to get out of my car sometimes to put in that key card and get the gate to lift because I just couldn't get close enough. Let's look at vehicles exiting the combined 53 car parking lots. If the first couple vehicles get out by turning left, there's now a backup on Nye to get out onto Main. And no other cars can exit left from the parking lots. Main is backed up. You're waiting for a car trying to turn right onto Nye, and remember, this is a lack of a good turning radius at that corner. You add vehicles trying to get into the businesses on the other side of Nye, and the cars are jammed up. Drivers are now irritated. They turn right if
Ma'am,
they can, and they go down Nye.
I totally understand where you're coming from. You're saying it's gonna be a traffic issue if people have problems at that card
Okay,
situation.
and if you follow on with that, what they're going to do is they're quickly going to learn that the easiest way to do this is to take themselves down King, down Queen, and up Nye. So now we have added traffic on Nye. So let's add some speed, let's add some bikes, and let's add some pedestrians. This is going to diminish the safety further. The posted speed limit on Queen and Nye is 20 miles an hour. We have vehicles speeding at 35 to 40 miles an hour and sometimes 50. I'm not exaggerating that probably less than 10% of the vehicles in this area are going the posted speed. We have bikes in the streets. We know now that Massachusetts law prohibits bikes from riding on the sidewalks. Ironically, a large billboard that said that the police were going to enforce the law was at the 587 Main Street lot.
I totally understand these little variables that you're discussing, but stick to the application and what's before us. We're fully aware of bicycles, cars, the speeds, the whole 9 yards. Just get to the crux of the matter, please.
This is informative to us.
Ma'am,
We didn't know that.
at one time, please. I'll give you a chance to speak.
The pedestrians are in the road. The sidewalks are uneven and unsafe. You see mothers with youngsters on these roads pushing baby carriages in the street. The carriage wheels will not go over the uneven sidewalks. People regularly walk in the road, sometimes 2 and 3 across. All this pedestrian and bike traffic with only 1 foot or less of the street. With this type of daily traffic, your increase of vehicular traffic is just not good. And I'll get to the increase in the traffic on having to do with this. At the intersection of Nye and Queen, on the left, right up to the pavement of Nye and Queen, is a utility pole and a tree, privet hedge and no sidewalk. This results in an obstructed or poor line of sight. Once again, due to the narrow street, tight intersections, vehicles turning from Queen onto Nye, they can't make that turn with a vehicle on Nye and the stop sign. It's 18 feet wide. You have to let the car traveling south out before you can make that turn onto Nye. This is the intersection where the school bus stops, where parents wait for their kids. Some parents will park behind where that telephone and tree are at that intersection. It's hard to see the traffic on Queen Street. God forbid, but somehow it seems like it might be inevitable. The kids get off the school bus, a vehicle speeds down Queen or Nye, and it hits the child.
Ma'am, I don't know how many times I can reiterate.
Currently,
These
there are...
variables we're not
Give
interested
some other
in.
people a chance.
Currently, there are about 700 trips per day on 9. The application adds 1,200 new trips.
How much longer are you gonna be, ma'am? Because I gotta give other people a chance. We're not gonna be here all night. We've been here since 5 o'clock. I know everybody's, please, people. How much longer are you gonna need, ma'am?
Well, I'm certainly not going to be over 15 minutes.
I think it's orange.
This application adds about 1,200 new trips. We are then at 1,930 trips. Nye has been changed then from a minor road to a major road. The definition for major road is 1,500 trips. Currently, there are about 1,500 vehicles per day on Queen Street. In a single hour, we can have over 100 vehicles, 20 bikers, and 17 pedestrians. With the added traffic on Nye, this will increase traffic to almost 3,000 vehicles a day. On Queen Street, we already have large amounts of cut-through traffic. We have pickup trucks, large commercial trucks. A lot of diesel fumes, the noise and air pollution is not good. If you add 1,200 trips to Main Street, you have a traffic nightmare. A nightmare with related vehicle, bike, and pedestrian safety issues. You add this to peak summer hours, which is what we're supposed to do, and you have gridlock. No matter how hard you try, the numbers don't work. Our infrastructure cannot hold the projected increase, and 1,200 extra trips a day is just a small part of the increase in car trips if a hypothetical facility is added across from these proposed parking lots. This development is also contrary to the local comprehensive plan, element 4.1 Transportation Policy 3. And I quote, "Primary access points from high-scale, large traffic-generating development should not be established where traffic is required to travel through areas with significantly lower densities or intensities." This represents the tipping point. I also want to just add one part about this 35-car parking lot, this gated parking lot. If you think about it, if what is happening is people are going to need to go across the street, for every single car that parks there, you're going to have a pedestrian traffic issue as well. Because every time somebody parks in that lot, they're going 24/7 across Main. That's 700 pedestrian trips that you're adding to your current pedestrian trips across that. Main Street is not ready to support this increase in pedestrian traffic. And the increase is going to further exacerbate the traffic backup on Main and decrease pedestrian traffic concerns. The National Highway Safety Administration says that marked crosswalks are not enough to ensure pedestrian safety. Since this lot is open 24/7, people will cross the street at night. Signals, signs, flashing beacons, lighting improvement, and traffic calming devices are also needed, and enforcement. The National Highway Safety Administration recommends enforcement, including having plainclothed policemen who are posed as typical pedestrians to ticket cars that do not stop. Are we going to be willing? Is the town going to be willing to pay for these improvements, or is this part of the plan? I implore you, do not issue these permits. Thank you for listening.
Anybody else like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the
Go right ahead,
speaker
sir.
a question?
Yep.
Ms.
Mary,
Berry?
could you step back up? We might have a question for you.
I know that much of what you read is your opinion, but a lot of it you tried to give it us as fact. Where is your expertise in traffic engineering?
I have done a great deal of research,
Are you a registered engineer, or traffic engineer?
I'm not.
Okay, thank you very much.
but
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I am
Thank
a
you.
professional, I was a professional
Thank you.
auditor
Ma'am,
and
thank you.
investigator.
Go ahead, ma'am. I took a quick straw poll in the popularity contest. We know how that goes,
Hi.
but please, stick to new information.
It's not new information. Chantal Harris, I live on 39 Queen Street, Precinct 2. The traffic on Queen Street is really ridiculous. I used to enjoy sitting on my front porch, but I can't anymore because of diesel fumes, loud cars, 18-wheelers coming down the road, and she's really right, because I walk quite a bit to the harbor. I have a dog. And when you try to take a right onto Nye Road from Queen Street, there's an accident waiting to happen. And there are so many young children and so many bikers and elderly people that can't walk on the sidewalk because they're so uneven, so they walk in the street. And I've heard people swearing at other pedestrian, people get off the road. And you tell them to slow down, they give you the finger. It's a second Main Street. And for that, the speed on that road is ridiculous. It's not 20. People go 50.
I think Mary
And-
pretty much,
Well, I
Hammer
have
that
to
home.
agree with her because I live there too, and
Okay.
I've never had my say. It's really, this town is just too small for that. And if they're worried about parking, make a lovely gated parking lot across the street of Nye
Okay.
Road.
thank you.
There's a big empty spot, you don't have to cut trees down.
Would anybody else like to speak? Go ahead, ma'am. No, go right ahead.
Catherine Bumpus, Precinct 1, Millfield Street. You guys are dealing with a tough issue here, and I'm very sympathetic to that. What I would say is please don't consider this in isolation. Look at what this will mean if you say yes or if you say no, and the other issues that the town's been dealing with on Main Street recently. I know that you're well aware that in the past couple of years, a number of things that are of much smaller scale, the farmer's market, the art market,
We're
have
just
been-
talking about this
I know.
application, though.
Yes, I know, have been denied, and they bring a lot of vitality, much more vitality than a gated parking lot ever would to the community. And yet, the town has said, we won't do these anymore, or we will consider not doing these anymore because of the traffic, and because of the impact, and because of the livability in this community. So, look at the whole picture. I see you struggling with what does this actually mean? Asking Mr. Ahmet the question, who is this going to be for? What is this going to do? Who are these connections? What is this parking lot going to serve? And when you don't have a clear answer, I worry what it means if you say yes to something without a clearly defined outcome coming down the road, because it is a little cut here, a little cut there, and then yes, does it mean something yes to a different project completely? You do have, under 240, the right to condition any parking lot to have a good long-term relationship. At least you all can say what the conditions will be if this is approved. And I think you should think long and hard about what you think you should condition this and what kind of relationship you would want if this is actually going to serve another location.
All right, thank you. Okay, please, people. All right, Jerry, you got the last wraps here. You're the abutter.
Yeah. So I'll go through the introduction anyway. Jerry Smith, 27 Nye Road. I live next to 17 and 19. First of all, he's
Direct
gonna
your
get me-
comments to the board, though,
He's
please.
going to get me lynched in my own neighborhood. A lawyer says I'm in favor with him. Please take that as lawyer talk. That's his interpretation of the letter. I'm gonna have to fight my way out of my own neighborhood. But that being said, I've never opposed this. I'm not banging the drum for it. I have a couple of questions, because this is a new drawing. Yeah, I'm happy about the 8-foot lights. Who wouldn't be? Sari told me that I couldn't ask for a 30-foot fence.
I didn't exactly say that.
No, because I did ask for a 30-foot fence. But the fence on, along the property line, the first 2 sections of fence are only 4 feet high, and then the rest of the fence is 6. I don't know if it shows that on the plan. No, well, the current existing fence, the first 2 sections are only 4 feet. So on the plan, it may show it as 6 feet. I had asked in a letter for a spike fence. I took a spike fence as anything over 6 feet, not literally using the word spike. He had indicated that he didn't want to do, well, he has indicated that he didn't want to do the 6-foot, the 12-foot fence that I had asked for. I'm just wondering if you can consider in the plans requiring an 8-foot fence. If not an 8-foot fence, 6-foot fences, they can put a panel, a lattice panel on top of it to add an extra 2 feet, or something minor, just to protect. I mean, 24/7 is a lot, scares me a little bit. It's his property, it's their property. I don't want to stop anyone from doing anything they want on their own property. When they clear cut this land and they tear the houses down, Duggan Real Estate and I are going to become very friendly, because he can look right into my window, right out to Main Street. So I don't know if asking you, what happens during construction when you say, go ahead and do it? You know, we approved the plan with these things on. So who do I come back to during construction? You know, when the workers and when it's all clear cut. So that's all I'm asking for. Just, you know, I'm not, you know, going crazy, but I am literally right on this guy's proposed lot. So that's all I'm asking for. Maybe a little higher fence. The bushes, he indicated everything, and I thank you for all that. I am concerned about the traffic, but they said they put a no right turn in, but who, you know, who's going to enforce that? And 40 feet, I mean, you've all lived, you know, you live here, there's no way that Nye Road is 40 feet wide, so. And I didn't think about the cars sticking out, waiting to get in for the keyhole. Now that becomes a concern of mine a little bit. And the other thing is, I have a couple of lawn chairs right on the front lawn. I mean, that front lawn is right there, that thing. So these are where all my concerns come in. And I have kids, I have college kids, you know. And Gary has, you know, kids all over there's several now, so those are only my concerns. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
All right, thank you, Jerry.
Is there
Bob?
any pros allowed? I'm the owner of that lot.
We haven't got there yet. We haven't got to house board yet.
One short con.
Go ahead, sir. I'll get to you.
I probably shouldn't be interested in this, because I'm all the way from up in North Falmouth, 33 McMenemy Drive, Chuck Warringer. I just want to say we all really know what's going on here, and if I were a corporation that wanted to build a behemoth that we knew would be unwanted, knew didn't fit the local comprehensive plan, I would approach it in the same, tipping the small dominoes and then the bigger dominoes and the larger dominoes, just like this corporation's doing. You all know what's going on. It would be like saying, oh, well, it's legal to own matches. They can buy matches. It's legal to own gasoline. They can buy gasoline. I just didn't know they were going to burn the town down. So please take care of our town.
Sir, could we get your name? We didn't hear you over here.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, Chuck Warringer, W-O-R-I-N-G-E-R.
Thank you.
Something new, please.
Short list. My name's Peg Robichaud. I'm at 37 Nye Road.
What's your name again?
Peg Robichaud. The house was owned by my mother, Margaret Naven. She recently passed away. My mother and I spent many times walking up and down Nye Road with her walker, and she often complained that she was afraid she was going to get hit by a car because she could not take her walker up on the sidewalks. They were so lumpy and bumpy, and she couldn't do it. And as I've said before, I've seen people from the senior development, either the little houses and on the corner or the Admiralty apartments. The seniors walking down Queen and down Nye Road in order to get to Rite Aid to get their medication, picked people up, so they're walking in the road, baby carriages in the road. As everybody has said, and I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son. My daughter's always out in the road with Gary's kids, riding bikes. There's kids in the road all the time. My son has to take the bus to Upper Cape Tech at 6:20 in the morning. It's pitch black out in the winter when he's going down the road. Now I have to worry that somebody is going to come down the road. Now this whole business about only using the very end of the road, just that is only talking about a left turn coming out of the parking lot. Nothing has been said about coming into the parking lot. What about all the people coming from the Heights or other places going to come down Queen Street, down Nye Road, and go into the parking lot? Nothing has been said about that at all. The only way that that would be different is if you curve the parking lot so that there is no way to get in from that angle. It'd have to come in from the other angle, and I'm concerned with that. My son's bus stop corner is right at the corner of the street. I'm going to have to worry about him getting on and off the bus with people coming in and out of there at the end of the road. The crosswalk at this point is right on the left-hand side of the road, where when my daughter goes to Lawrence School in after this year, she will have to be walking across the traffic in front of the, either cross the street to avoid going in front of this parking lot, and then cut back across the street in front of the cars to go across the street on the crosswalk. She's going to be dodging cars the whole time. She's 11. She doesn't always look where she's going. Chances are somebody's going to hit her if it's not looking where they're going. Now, hypothetically, we've talked about the place across the street possibly being a hotel, a Marriott. I've even heard rumor of the business on the corner possibly being a bar or a restaurant for the Marriott. I worked for 5 years in a bar and a restaurant at the Admiralty and the Ambassador. I know what it's like when people get out of the bar at 1:30 in the morning. Now, this may not happen, but we couldn't get a straight answer on what this is going to be.
Hypotheticals, though.
Hypothetically.
We're just talking this parcel right here.
Yes, so if we're talking a 24-hour lot, we're talking about people coming in at all times of the night, beeping their cars open, beeping their cars locked, car alarms going off, voices. I live 4 houses down, I believe, 3, maybe 4 houses down if you count the houses that are being torn down. And I hear sound in the middle of the night. I've even had to harass Jerry about his kids partying because 2 houses down, I can hear them at 2:30 in the morning. I will hear everything when people are out in the parking lot after having a few drinks, getting into their cars. It's going to be noisy. We're going to hear the voices. I have to worry about my daughter with strangers coming in and out of parking lots, worry about my son getting hit, worrying about people getting hit in the road. There's a lot of concerns. I mean, they did away with the idea of the curb cut going in off of Main Street into this parking lot. I think that was a mistake. It would have been much safer. We wouldn't have had this whole discussion about the traffic on Nye Road in the first place, because it would have been coming in and out of there, wouldn't have dealt with Nye Road at all. The traffic is going to be insane. Right now, just trying to cross the street to get to Dunkin' Donuts, you take your life in your hands. This is going to increase traffic, especially with people coming from business across the street. And in terms of other businesses in the area using the parking lot, that lot has been empty for quite a while. I haven't seen no parking signs, and I have yet to see other businesses in the area using that lot for overflow parking. There's no need for it. That's a bunch of baloney. There is no need for it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, would anybody like to speak in support of this? Go real quick, ma'am. Well, we're only going to be here till 9:30, and we still have other business to do, so.
So I want to address 2 things. One is the Allison Leshin, Lantern Lane. Pardon me?
We didn't hear your name.
Allison Leshin, Lantern Lane. 2 things. One came up at the very end of the last speaker where it just doesn't make sense to me that this is being presented as one proposal. I think in general, nobody's objecting to this part, this sort of by right part, that there's a reasonable business there with its accompanying parking lot. That's not what we're arguing about. And I think that's the trip generation numbers that Mr. Ahmet gave us. It's the second lot, the 35 lot, spot lot that we're, I think, worried about. And at the last meeting, Mr. Ahmet was very upfront that that was really designed to serve the 108-room Marriott Hotel across the street, suddenly he's studiously avoiding mentioning that this time, but, you know, I think since he brought it up last time, it's fair to talk about it in connection. We all know that's really what it's for. I did contact the Cape Cod Commission Transportation Planners and asked for trip generation numbers from the ITE Trip Generation Manual for a 108-room hotel, and the numbers were between 882 and 963 new daily trips from that hotel. Now, for those of us, I used to live on Nye Road. I live on Lantern Lane now, so I know both very well. I know how to pick them. You know, I want you to, I guess, imagine two possible scenarios for the use of this lot. And, of course, the one across the street as well, where the remaining, I think it's 84 spots across the street and 35 here proposed for that hotel. So, first scenario, which a lot of people have addressed, and I'll keep short, is that people try and exit onto Main Street. I don't know if you were out there today at all. That section of Main Street is insane on any summer day or evening. Adding almost 1,000 cars a day to that is inconceivable. Already, I know a lot of people who completely avoid downtown Falmouth in the summer because they can't park, they can't stand sitting in traffic. You know, eventually, tourists will stop coming here for the same reason. And businesses that are already here will suffer. You know, if people want to circle and look for parking and sit in traffic, they can stay in Boston and do that. Why drive all the way to the Cape? The second scenario is that, you know, again, we've addressed this. Those 1,000 cars a day say, oh, I don't want to go out onto Main Street. I'm going to cut down these nice little side roads, Nye Road onto Queen Street, et cetera, or Lantern Lane. Now, I haven't done a scientific traffic study on Lantern Lane, but I was out in my garden for an hour and a half yesterday and an hour and a half today, being very conscious of cars going by. 3 cars went by in an hour and a half. Now, if you imagine this scenario, I'll take the low end of the 882 vehicles a day and divide it evenly over a 16-hour period from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's 55 vehicles an hour. That's a 27-fold increase over what, I experienced today. I'm sure there'll be peak times when it's much higher. Some of those vehicles will be large, noisy delivery and trash trucks. I just, again, implore you to think for a moment, if that were your neighborhood, how you would feel about that, about a 27-fold increase in the traffic. You enjoy being outside, maybe you have young kids playing, you have your grandkids over, how that would change your lives, how it would change your property values, how it would change how you feel about this town and the people on the town boards that approved this, despite how they knew it was going to affect all these people's lives, all these people who have been paying taxes, serving on boards, serving on committees, doing all kinds of things to serve the town, that none of that matters because there's, a corporation that wants to come in that the town thinks is going to give it some tax money and that's more important. So I just really ask you to think about the effect of this project and not disconnect it from what's going to happen across the street, and think about your fellow Falmouth residents.
Thank you. If I hear any more outbursts, applause, anything like that, I'm just going to continue this hearing to another date, because I can't take it anymore. I've told you guys countless times, so.
In support.
So there was somebody who wanted to speak in support. Go ahead, ma'am.
We have to.
Go ahead, ma'am. In support.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Candy McKnight. I own the piece of property. I live at 10 Lantern Lane. I used to live at 19 Nye Road. The reason I bought that piece of property is because it was contaminated. Nobody in this town offered to clean it up. The state didn't offer to clean it up. I wrote every check for that. Every check I wrote. Everybody called it gasoline alley, whatever. It was a piece of garbage land. So about 15 years ago, I came in here and I asked the selectmen for a special meeting to tell me what I could build on that property without getting a bunch of harassment. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. They told me to leave the room. I came back 15 minutes later, and they said it would be a perfect place for a restaurant. And I said, okay. And I was going to build a restaurant there, but I didn't. I decided to save this piece of property until I was ready to retire. Now, I have an agreement. It's not with the Marriott. It has nothing to do with my agreement on this piece of property. I had 2 attorneys go over it. Nothing. I have everybody in my neighborhood no longer talks to me. Nobody on Nye Road talks to me. That's fine. But this is still the property I've been paying taxes on all these years. These nice people can buy it and make a park. I don't hear any offers for that. But it's a piece of property that I have the right to build on. I want you guys to remember that. I've lived in this town for a long time. My kids live in this town. My grandkids live in this town. And this is my right. Thank you.
All right, ma'am.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Ma'am.
Ma'am, what is the property that you're talking about that you own?
I own all 3
All
lots.
3, thank you. Thanks.
And the selectman also pointed out to me that because the property behind me is half business owned, that I could actually park cars right up and next against my fence. The fence that they're always talking about is my fence, and legally, they can park cars right up against that fence. So, okay? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else in support? Okay, Bob, I know there's a lot to digest there, but if you could just touch on the pavement question, why not in that grass area? And
Well, I'm going to
Jerry's
comment on
fencing concerns.
on a couple of things. You know, and at the end of the day, I just want to remind you, this is business-owned property, and these are town-owned streets, and we're intending to do all we can to have the cars not go down Nye Road, and all this talk about an increase of 1,000 trips on Queen Street just doesn't seem right. 700 more pedestrian trips because of this proposed parking. A lot of figures just, don't seem to make any sense. One figure that's wrong is Mrs. Berry says that the gate is only 4 feet away from the street. In fact, from the paved portion of the street, and the street layout happens to be 40 feet. The pavement itself is less, but from the pavement to the gate is 20 feet. It's a big difference there. A car can turn off the street and quickly get into to the lot. The 18 spaces that are for the proposed building are paved because that's the kind of requirement that a commercial tenant might have for that space. The surface, the default surface, the requirement is pavement. And we're proposing to have paved parking for that building, but that this overflow parking, which we really don't anticipate a lot of use, that is, generally a car will pull into it and then the car will leave perhaps the next day. And it's not a lot of in and out traffic, it's not a lot of trips. And it is also right next to the residential properties, and we thought that the grass surface would be a better transition for it. So that's why some of it's proposed to be paved and some of it not so. I think that almost the only development of this property, that corner property across the street and so on, is really no development won't increase traffic in the area over what is there now. What is there now is not what we want to have. It is not the town policy to not see that property to develop. The goal is to develop it in a way that works for the town, and that it's properly regulated, and that can be done. And I'm specifically talking about this property. It applies to every other property in the business redevelopment district, which the town policy is to see redeveloped. I said when I began, there is no doubt in my mind that the redevelopment of this corner is going to involve the spaces behind. Candy McKnight certainly would agree with that. And that these concerns about all this changes in traffic to Queen Street and other streets to the south is, I can't see that it's something you'd really consider realistically. If there is a restaurant on this site, and it is not regulated, restricted parking, I'm sure there will be many more trips down Nye Road to the south than what we're proposing. It's public roads, and people will use them. We are increasingly seeing traffic problems in this town, in downtown. And the only way to not have these properties be part of that is to not see any development at all. And that's not a decision that this board can appropriately make. We have by right development, we have a proposed use that will have less impact than the by right development would have.
All right, thanks, Bob. Anybody have any further questions of Bob?
Well, I just ask, so based on your testimony, what I'm concluding is that a car turning right into the parking lot will extend 10 feet into the public layout and the sidewalk.
Yes.
Okay.
Temporarily.
That could be avoided by getting rid of the two end spaces and moving your gate in. Is that something that the applicant would consider?
I would need to ask my client. If you give me a second, I would consider that. Do that.
Could I say something while we're waiting?
Kim, what's the date?
No?
Yes.
September 17th.
Like a 90-day hearing.
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, the engineer says that you'd only need to remove this one space on one side, but...
You'd have to move you'd have to extend that, I guess you'd have to extend that little center, whatever that thing is.
But we would do that.
Yeah. Okay.
We would do that so that there's, that a car can be off the layout.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so how do you guys,
That, by the way, we keep hearing 35 spaces, we already reduced to 34, you're
34.
suggesting a further reduction.
I'm talking about
So, I mean,
queuing.
it's just worth noting.
Yep. So, you guys have any, what?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Want to discuss this a little bit?
Discuss it tonight.
Go ahead, Matt. You have
I
some
think it would
thoughts?
be extremely valuable to discuss this for the applicant, but for also everyone that's here. It's interesting because both sides have asked us to speculate. One side asks us to speculate about a Marriott and what the impact will be on Lantern Lane. The applicant suggests that we speculate what could be built on B2 zoning, which, by the way, is there. It is B2 zoning. It does allow for certain by right things. We don't need to speculate about what they might be. On the other hand, if they're B2 uses that require a special permit, they do engage us. We can't make decisions about what might happen. I think we need to be cognizant about it, but we can't make a decision about a parking lot based on rumor or discussion about a Marriott. That would be approving a building and saying, well, 2 years from now, it could change its use. Those things happen. So I think what this board has to do is to remove the speculation from all of it and look at what the law allows us to do and what the application is asking us to do. And why I separated and picked up on what Mr. Ahmed said early on was that if the application, if the development were only for the Main Street property and business redevelopment, they wouldn't be here before us. If that were a restaurant, they wouldn't necessarily be before us, but they are before us because of the parking lot and what their choice is to use that B2 property. So I think it comes down to what the choice is. The other thing, and I'll certainly give you my thoughts on it, is that, at one point, although Lantern Lane has nothing to do with it, it was talking about 2 cars a day going up to 27 cars a day, or the increase. On the other side of the street, we hear people on Nye Road talking about how bad the conditions are. Well, those are already pre-existing conditions. They're not new conditions. And if they're so bad, how much of an increment does it change? Given all of that, however, I'll just give you my opinion on it. I look more to 242-16. And in my opinion, the 2B2 lots that will become part of the merged lot are absolutely not suitable for this use. I think that it is probably, in the 10 years that I've served on this board, not so much that it would be substantially more detrimental, but it would be irreparably detrimental, in my opinion. Now, some of you may ask for more information in terms of traffic flows, et cetera. And to me, it's not useful, to me, because the impact on traffic flow exists. And I think, Ken, you brought up a good point, and it was not so much the trip generator, but it is the impact on the traffic flows, et cetera. Now, I know it's tough for our chairman to sort of tell people when to stop talking about things, and I've been there. I did that for 6 years, and I know how difficult it is. However, the flow will impact the surrounding streets. Now, again, I'm not interested in talking about a Marriott. I'm talking about the 2 parking lots. And the parking lots that, by the way, and that's why I asked the question, it's not business redevelopment that says share parking, come up with a long-term agreement, paid for parking, although there might have been a suggestion about we'll restrict it to 1 or 2, could change and be parking for all sorts of things. It's very difficult to say it can't be parking for the Steamship Authority or for the ferry. You'll never know. So the parking is going to have an impact. I think the parking in that area, those 2 lots, will impact safety. And I think the other thing too, and there was testimony at the last hearing, the impact on the neighborhood, and that's where part of it I think is irreparable. We are talking about visual character. Now, by the way, somebody might go in there with a B2 by right and tear down all of the trees and do a variety of things. But it's a special permit with us. And so we have to consider that. And I think there is a difference. I think the real protection, if these neighbors want to protect it, is get it rezoned. If they is our zoning bylaw deficient? I think in many ways it is. We've talked about it, let's be honest. There at one point was buffer zones in areas that buffered between residential and commercial or business. They don't exist anymore. They don't exist here anyway, and maybe there could be. But that, again, here I am saying what we told us not to do, don't speculate. But if they really want to protect, rezone, convince 2/3 of town meeting that it should be something different. But in terms of the projects before us, and only the projects before us, I think it's irreparable.
Ken, you have any thoughts?
And what about Patty?
Nope, she bowed out.
Okay. Oh, you took the easy route. I have, I looked at 242-16 too, and the issue, I think it's not pertinent to talk about other things that could go here. I think we want to talk about what's being proposed for here. That's the first thing. And I have a very difficult time assessing impact on traffic flow and safety. We've heard 3,000 vehicle trips per day, 1,000 vehicle, 890 vehicle trips today, or just a few. And there is no hard data from an independent source. Given that absence of information, I can't, condition C here, 242.16C, impact on traffic flow and safety. Can't evaluate it. In the absence of that, I can't vote for it. I just don't think we have the information. I think Matt's point about suitability is a good one as well. And so, I'm not, at this point, I'm not in favor.
Kim? Well, I'm happy to go next because I will second what Ken just said. I think that you need the data, and we don't have the data. And it's, as you know, Bob, your burden, or sorry, this discussion, but to produce that data. You're talking about putting in a parking lot where cars go. Of course, we need that in order to make a decision one way or the other. So I think it would be helpful to have it. That's the only way I could vote in favor of this. But we don't have that. So at this point, I can't vote in favor of it. Would I like to see a traffic study? I guess that depends on what the applicant would like to do. Particularly, I know Matt said it wouldn't really matter to him. So I would echo, I think, wholeheartedly Ken's sentiment.
Mark?
I would feel the same way. I think it was mentioned by a person tonight that to make a decision tonight without all the information, and we don't have all the information. And I do think there's a relevance to the information with regard to traffic generation. It would be certainly more supportive one way or the other with that information versus not having it. So I would agree with Ken and with Kim. I'd like to ask Matt about his remarks. Is there, your feeling, could we as a board regulate and condition enough to satisfy your concerns?
And that's why I was very...
One quick thing though, Matt, we went past 9:30, so someone want to make a motion? Debbie, go ahead.
We continue the hearings to 9:45.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead, Matt.
And I think that's a fair question. That's why I wanted to be honest with the board and say, I don't think even having more information, because as much as I discounted the non-professional comments about, thousands of 1,500 vehicles on Nye or the counts, et cetera, the reality is introducing parking lot into that neighborhood is the game changer for me. Now, something else could go there, but then it may not be asking this board for it. If a restaurant were to go in there, would that change the neighborhood in a way that I probably wouldn't like it to change? Yeah, but that's not a question that would necessarily come before this board. So the question is here, and I think introducing a parking lot into that neighborhood changes it so dramatically that, and I think even though, in my opinion, it was a bit trumped up and exaggerated in terms of the vehicles, et cetera, the reality is, and every one of us who's done a site visit know that it's a layout of 40 feet, but the pavement is only 18 feet. We know how difficult it is to get around those roads. Those are pre-existing situations, but I still think it will become more unsafe to the degree I'm not comfortable with by introducing a parking lot into that area.
Would you feel then that in general, I mean, specific to this application, but just in general, anytime you have a B2 with the proposed parking lot that abuts a residential zone, you'd always have that circumstance?
Oh, Again, you're being speculative, but no, I would never say no, that that's a rule that I would follow. I think it's very specific. What's happening in that neighborhood, how much, free land there is, vacant land. There are so many things that go into an application that there would never be a rule of thumb that I would live by.
I disagree with Kim and Ken on one thing. I don't really need the traffic study to know what's going to happen there. I've lived in town and driven down those roads, I don't know, 40-something years. I still do it today to avoid Main Street. Those cars...
You're one of those guys going 50.
I probably am. But with these 34 cars now going down there trying to catch a boat, I don't care what anybody says, it's still gonna, there is kids walking down there, those roads are tight, everybody's been down Queen Street, King Street, all those back roads. I just think it's an undue burden, and it hasn't been proven to me that the business need that. So, I don't need the traffic study, I'd vote against this. That's just how I feel. But, you guys want to talk about it some more? Do you want that traffic study to sway you in any way, shape, or form?
I think from where I sit, I mean, it's tough to know. It's tough to speculate what the traffic study says. I've been thinking about this, and I said, well, I can see the pros. I could see how this possibly, speculating, could be better than having a restaurant there. Why that might actually be better than what could go there. But this is the project before us. The applicant obviously has had time to submit a traffic study.
Right.
And I think that, like Matt said, there are other criteria that I think are weighing against them. So I would hate to sit here and say, we're going to hold this out, get a traffic study and say, well, my mind was already made up, and have them incur the expenses.
And I think that's sort of the point that drove me to some degree, that I'm not sure just a traffic study alone would, and even if it came out to be less intense than 1,500 vehicles on Nye Road, because I don't think it will.
Let me be clear about one thing. I don't think it's an accident that there isn't a traffic study.
Right.
There's not a traffic study because there is no clear use for this lot. It's a payment for fee contracted with businesses, but we don't know what businesses. If you don't know what businesses, you don't know what the traffic generation rate is.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's an accident, but in the absence of that information, there's no way of judging either pro or con, so I would err on the side of safety and protecting the
Which comes back to the point that Kim was getting to, though. Then why would you want a traffic study?
No, I didn't say I necessarily wanted one. I just said I can't vote for it without one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob, I think you've heard us.
Well, I'm not sure that the traffic study will sway enough votes, but we'd like to ask for a continuance in order to consider getting a traffic study that would identify what we think is a limited use of this lot, which will have very little traffic impact.
Is that going to, just getting back to what I was saying, is that going to sway you any?
I was very honest with the board.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
So so somebody want to continue it, or are you ready to make a decision, close the hearing, and move on?
Well, I guess I look at it this way. The applicant is the one that asked for the continuation. I'm ready to vote tonight, but, he realizes the burden he has to, overcome.
So you making a motion to continue it?
No.
And if we did, what day?
I'm ready to vote.
It would have to be September 11th. So, is anybody going to make that motion?
I just want to be sure whatever decision we come to, we can sustain with, adequately.
And will a traffic study change your mind?
You heard me. A traffic study is not going to change my mind.
Won't change your mind. I'm not going to say that there's no way it would change my mind. I do think there are other issues. I think you brought some of those up, and I think I mentioned, I agreed with those issues. But I think that's a particularly glaring problem with this application at the time. So I guess what I would say is that I think if the applicant wanted to go forward with a traffic study, I would be willing to hear what they came up with.
So, is that your motion? You want to have a traffic, you want to
I would
continue
be-
it to
I
September
would be
11th?
willing to personally grant them a continuation if they wanted to move it.
That's fair enough. Anybody want to second that? September
September
11th?
September 11th, I won't be here.
If we're going to be receiving more information, the hearing has to stay open.
Yes. Although I suppose you could leave it open for one specific.
Well, I would recommend you don't do that, because then if there is any rebuttal to the information that you have, I mean, you could leave the record open, close the hearing, leave the record open, but would never be able to ask any questions about it.
Right.
Makes no sense.
So Bob and everybody else, Matt's sitting on it, Ken, myself, Kim, and Mark, you're not going to be here the 11th.
Well,
That's-
we would like to have a hearing when you're all present, if that's possible, and we would give an extension, assuming it's within reason, to the board to make that possible.
So September 2020?
I can be.
Everybody will be here October 16th.
What about the 25th? Or is this not, am I looking at old?
I usually accept some open because we don't have any hearings right now, except for those that we.
October 2nd, can you make it for October
Can't
2nd?
leave out October 2nd, October 16th.
I can make it.
Is the next available day
No, I don't want
that I have.
16th?
October 16th, I can be.
October 16th? And
David,
Bob-
can I just ask Bob a question?
Go ahead. Bob, Matt, we have another question for you, Bob, real quick. Please, people, trying to wrap this up here.
Could I make one more suggestion?
Matt has a question for you, Bob, real quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just, is it just to provide a traffic study? Is that?
Well, I'd
the
like
only-
to say, having just talked to my client, another suggestion is that we simply, at this point, we can count votes, withdraw the application without prejudice, knowing that we could refile, including more information, including a traffic study.
So I think that's a wise thing.
So we would like to ask your permission to withdraw the present application without prejudice.
So moved.
Second by,
Was there a second on that?
I'll second.
so that withdraw without prejudice, that's Mr. McNamara and Ms. Spielin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got the vote.
Please exit quietly, we still have business, thank you.
No, they really look